Protocol, rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. This is the elevation. Protocol, rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. This is the elevation. Protocol, rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. Bridges to greatness, demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards draw the line here. My standards draw the line here. My standards draw the line here. I'm not building walls.
All right, how you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. I did a little bit of updating, had a little bit of a snafu, and I was like, nah, we can't start with the lag. It's gonna have to. We got to get past the lag real quick and then get started. We got it working. I actually found out this week that Google, Microsoft, um, iOS, well, iOS is kind of auto, and other products actually did a massive software update. So anybody who has a laptop, go to your browser and then go to About browser, and it'll take you to a section where it will help you update your web browsers, which will eliminate a lot of the lag and delays in your ability to function your web browser. So I just figured that'd be a good thing to start off with because we had to tackle a couple things. But y'all know how it is. I mean, we're live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. We're about a half hour late today in comparison to when we said we were going to start. But we ask you guys as a result to, hit that like and subscription buttons, hit the notification buttons. That way you know that we're going live when we go live. We've got the majority of May and a large portion of June already preset. So a little bit at a time here. We're setting the present. Remember, I told you guys that you find 5 things that you need to do out of a day, 2 things that are mandatory, 3 things that can wait until tomorrow, and you see how much extra time you have to get you some rest, to get you some sleep. I followed my own methods. There were some things that I wanted to do, the to-dos and the not so need to-dos, and I pushed some stuff back until Saturday, and some of the stuff I'm like, no, I gotta go ahead and get it done now. And I did what needed to be done when it needed to be done. And we're now looking at almost a month and a half worth of pre-listed shows. This Saturday, I'll be able to get a month and a half worth of pre-created scripts for the shows. And in order to make sure that I don't get confused about which script goes where, I'm starting to date the scripts so that I can actually just search the browser by typing in the date for the show. And a script should pop up for that particular date. And then I should be able to just pull it up and then I'll have it. So that will give me a month and a half to give you guys all of the relative information that was supposed to go into the membership, links to all of the information that you guys can benefit from, which would have us caught up. We are May 1st, so you will see tonight after the show, you will see me put up there the information that needs to go up there for the man, I was thinking about the dividend rotation strategy and the shares that we're supposed to be looking for the rest of the month of May and June. May is already in the membership, so I'm not too concerned about it, but I want to make sure that May and June is up there so that you have the updated list. Then the rest of the stuff that I told you guys I was going to give you guys. Now, we are doing a different topic every night of the week. As a result, we start off with Sunday doing questions and comments from the fans. You guys have questions. I do research and then I provide you guys with answers. But if you guys have questions for something that I've already done research on, I typically give you the answers to those questions live on the show. If you come up with a very interesting topic that is an appropriate topic, appropriately structured, then I will go ahead and do some research on it and potentially cover it on a whole other show, do a whole show to cover it. Like last Sunday, Stephen asked about the identity theft information. Special shout out to Stephen, one of the members in the membership. And same day, I got him all the information that he needs to know about it, but I'm still covering it this coming Tuesday. So everybody else who's not in the membership gets the information a week later, prioritizing my members. Special shout out to Dylan as well for being a longstanding member. Dylan's always on the road, so he doesn't have the opportunity to see a lot of the stuff that I need him to see. But whenever he does come through, he will see that there's a lot of stuff in there for him, which he can benefit from. Now, after that, we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, a lot about business and politics. And we start with, on Monday, how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Then we have Tuesdays, we talk about ways to make money, whether it is starting up your own business, digital nomad style stuff, online creativity, whatever. But then we start talking about budgeting money, saving money, investing money, and we talk about different ways for you to rethink how you value money and how you utilize money in your life. And these things aid you with your decision-making skills because, your professional life, you go out and make that money, but your personal life, you make the decisions that cost you money. And the money that whatever decision it is, whether it is taking care of a necessity, whether it is upgrading lifestyle creep and taking care of certain things, like, say, for example, you had an apartment, you don't have to pay for maintenance. You buy a house, you have to factor in maintenance costs. So while your house might technically be cheaper rent wise because your mortgage is going to be cheaper than your rent, other things are going to be more expensive than your rent. But the value that you have there is the equity in the property. So if you take good care of the property, then you find yourself in a position where the money pays for itself. But if you were paying $2,000 for rent and now you're paying $3,000 for where you're paying like $1,500 for the mortgage, but you're still paying $1,000 worth of maintenance on a property, you're still paying an extra $500 a month on your overall standard of living plus utilities and everything to that effect. If you have an apartment complex or something like that that you live in that has standard utility services, where even if you have all the lights off, you still have this expensive ass bill where it doesn't really matter because it's flat rate until you start going over the normal. If you move into a house, those utility bills are going to be lower because it's not going to necessarily be flat rate a lot of the times. However, in certain situations, like with gas companies and stuff, they might have like a average usage scenario where if you're only using like $40, $50 a month, and you've been doing that for the last 12 months, that they will average you. And the 1 month that spikes where you had a cold season versus the rest of the time where you don't have a cold season, you're likely going to have an average lower monthly payment doing it like that than paying whatever happens where you have 2 high months and like 6 low months. You might just do an average where you just have a little bit of every month, which gives you flat rates, fixed rates to deal with, where it might only go up a couple dollars here and there, but it doesn't go up a lot. So there's a way that you can budget a lot of these things, but you got to understand that owning a house will cost you a little bit more than renting one, but it will save you a lot of money over time because your fixed rate cost for house maintenance from the day you move in is going to reasonably be the same cost, because your landscaper is not going to raise the price every year, right? They're not going to give you a 4% inflation cost. Once they get in there and they start taking care of your property, they're coming every month or they're coming every other week or whatever the case may be. And whatever they do. And now you don't have to worry about them saying, oh yeah, 10 years from now, no, I'm going to charge more. Well, they might retire and then you got to find somebody new, but as long as they're there, whatever you was paying to get everything taken care of, that's what you're getting taken care of, right? And you factor that stuff in. Now, these are the things, these decisions, even when you start thinking about decisions like, buying a gift for your loved ones, making up with a friend or family member, taking an extra day off so that you can pay respects to somebody that all of these things cost money, right? Because not going to work, that takes money out of your pocket. Then commuting to the event, that takes even more money out of your pocket. Any gifts that you pay for that situation, anything you buy while you're out there, all that stuff takes money out of your pocket. And all of this is the decisions that leads to your standard of living. Now, a lot of the times what we do is we go to work to make enough money to cover our financial decisions. And that's why we talk to you guys about Thursday, Friday, and Saturday about all the other ways to improve yourself: self-improvement, self-development, relationship topics, negotiation skills, networking skills, socialization, building your brand, and then discussing your promotions, raises, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, and working on your 20-year plan. Because whatever the dollar value is for the decisions that you make in life, you have to go and make that money from somewhere, or create a portfolio that makes that kind of money for you. Like what we've discussed before, the mentality of the wealthy, instead of them asking how much does something cost, they ask how much do I have to invest to generate that kind of money on a regular basis. For example, if Netflix is $25 a month, right? And in order for you to generate $25 a month with a guaranteed average of 10%, you're likely going to need $2,500 portfolio for that to generate that $25 a month on a regular basis, so that you personally out of pocket don't have to pay for that Netflix bill, but the Netflix bill still gets paid for. Same thing with a car note. If a car is a $300 a month payment, doesn't matter if you finance it or not. If it's a $300 a month payment and 10%, you're probably going to need $300 a month, which is $36,000 a year, which means you're likely going to need $300,000 to get that car that costs you $300 a month. So now you're saying, well, if I want to finance this Honda Civic for $25,000 or $30,000, and I'm going to be paying these guys like $300 a month for this car, then this $25,000 or $30,000 car, I would need $300,000 or $350,000 in a brokerage account to cover the cost of this car, so that the car is paid for by the brokerage account, not by me. When you start factoring in your entire standard of living with the same mentality, you start deciding, well, shit, if I start off, like I said before, you start off by putting more money into your brokerage account than you do anything else. You do want to pay down your debts, especially your high interest credit cards, but you want to prioritize putting money into your brokerage accounts, and because the brokerage account is the only thing besides rental properties that I can think of that generates capital just by holding the asset. Everything else you have to sell it in order to get capital gains off of it. But just simply the dynamic of buying and holding a brokerage account, you can do that cheaper than buying and holding a house. A house is $250,000 or something like that. A brokerage account, $250. You can get it. Your foot in the door is a lot lower the threshold, right? But if you think about this, it's like, well, if I build up my brokerage account to cover my bills, you start there. That's a good goal to have for yourself. I want to put enough money into my brokerage account so that it covers my bills, my mortgage, if it covers my utility bills, my phone bill, whatever, and then build from there. Now you're taking your brokerage account and paying next month's bills, but you're taking this month's paycheck and putting it on the brokerage account so that you don't have to worry about where your money's coming from. Because whatever comes from your brokerage account will always come from your brokerage account, especially if you're getting dividend paying stocks, right? Now, that's the kind of stuff that you don't hear from other places, but I tell you guys that these are the important decisions that put you guys in the best position possible to be successful, right? So with all the stuff that we go over on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, after we talk about Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday, we talk about different countries around the world where we can go and potentially live and invest. When you start getting that standard capital gain that coming in on a regular basis, now what you have is the opportunity to be able to utilize that income. Because say you got a $60,000 a year lifestyle in America, and you're like living from paycheck to paycheck. But say you take that $60,000 a year lifestyle, take it to Japan. You only need $8,500 a year to live comfortably in Japan. So if you're spending $30,000 a year, you're living in the upper scale status of, you're not the ultra rich, but $70,000 a year, $60,000, $70,000 a year definitely puts you in the lower levels of the rich class. So the upper middle class, lower wealthy class. So you would definitely have your kid in private international schools and all this other stuff, chauffeurs and housekeepers, maids, mistresses, and all this other stuff, with $70,000 a year. But the fact is that instead of living from pillar to post, begging and borrowing and government programs to help you try to survive off of $70,000 a year in one country, you can go to another country and live the life around. Over there in Asia, they're helping you pay for childcare, even if you are part of the top wealthy, because it's a repopulation program. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or if you're broke. As long as your kid is native born and at least one of the parents is native born, they give you a subsidy towards childcare, which you utilize to subsidize having children, which makes it easier to have more children. That's what they're doing it for. So you can now have a husband, a wife, and 3 kids for the cost of a husband and a wife. But if you're living a life of luxury, you can have a husband and wife for 3 kids for the price of a husband and wife and 1 kid. Either way it goes, that's way cheaper than in America, where you're doing per child subsidies. Unless you're poor, then they start giving you benefits. And that's why I tell you guys, these are a lot of things that you guys have to put down so that you can see yourself in the best position possible. Now, today we're supposed to be talking about, we're doing a follow-up on how to upscale yourself about cheap dating. But Jesse's got something going on here. He says, I'm considering making a public endorsement for a political candidate. He's a great man. The endorsement will be measured and limited to what I want. I think it can throw a wrench in things. Now, here's the thing about what you're doing. You have a candidate that you're supporting. If the person that you're about to endorse is different from the person that you're supporting, you have to weigh your political career with the person that you're already following, Royce White, versus the new candidate that you want to endorse. Then when you start thinking about your political career, because you have to recognize first and foremost, where do you want to see yourself in your political career in the next 20 or 30 years? Endorsing all these other people are fantastic because if they get into office, they can endorse you. But where do you want to be at in your political career over the next 20 or 30 years? This is a different race. I am still supporting rights. No, yeah, but I know that. But that's going to be your conflict of interest. You've got like local level, you got like mayors, then you've got governors, then you've got electoral individuals, you've got senators. There's different tiers to this. You've got on the local level, you got judges, sheriffs, deputies. But again, it doesn't matter which race they're running, and it doesn't matter who you're endorsing. What matters is where do you want to end up in the next 20 years with your political career? That's the key question. Because if endorsing this guy will advance your political career, then there isn't a wrench in things. The only wrench that you're going to have is if this guy's promotion calendar conflicts with Royce White's promotion calendar, where you can't be in two places at once. But if promoting these guys will help them get in, but it will compromise your political position, then you have to ask yourself, what's more important? Endorsing said new person or just sticking with Royce? That's the question. Because clearly Royce is the golden goose in the basket for you. So you've got that guy. You and him are on the same political path. But if the other guy that you're talking about is not 100% on the same political path that you're on, where you may have to deviate from certain political views in order to get this guy's position where he wants it to be at, you still have to recognize in politics, especially publicly viewed politics, a soundbite from what you said in 2026 will be thrown in your face in 2046 when you decide to run for president. So you want to be careful about why you're doing it, not who you're doing it for. Who gives a shit about who you're doing it for? It's why you're doing it, because you want to be able to stand by your decision 20 years later and say, yeah, I did the right thing. Even though he fucked up his position, I did the right thing when I was doing my position. That's all I'm saying. Steven says, just praise what you like about said person. No direct endorsements may be an idea. Fantastic. Fantastic. So giving a direct endorsement puts your reputation on the line with the other guy's reputation. So I agree with Steven. Not necessarily giving the guy an official endorsement, but saying, you know what, I like the way he does business. That praises certain things about him in the public eye. You know, he's got my vote of confidence kind of scenario. A vote of confidence is not my actual political vote. It's like I believe in some of the things that he says or some of the things that he's talking about, even if I don't stand behind his policies, even if I don't stand behind his whatever the fuck he does once he gets in office. Paying homage to and paying respects to certain things about him that you agree with without speaking on the things you disagree with. So you're only shining a positive spotlight on the guy without tying yourself to anything negative that the guy has. That would be a better way to go about doing it. So special shout out to Steven. We got advice coming straight out the comment section. That is fantastic advice. You know, the only time I would do a direct endorsement is when the guy is directly walking step for step down the path I'm walking. Because if I put my name on this guy and he fucks it up, he's gonna make me look bad. He said, I'm following you. My endorsement will not cause problems with me and Royce. This endorsement would just make the establishment nervous and questioning what is going on. Oh, but I'm not talking. Okay, so let's do it, because I know you're catching up, because I think there's like a 3 or 5 second lag on our communication. So I want to make sure that you know that I see you on this. I'm not talking about messing up your relationship with Royce. I don't care about your relationship with Royce. I'm talking about your career, not Royce's, because Royce's career ain't got nothing to do with your career. Yes, If he succeeds, he will take you with him. If he fails, you're going to be successful regardless. I'm talking about your career, endorsing this man and how it impacts your career, not your relationship with Royce, your political career after Royce. How does this impact your career? That's what you have to pay attention to. I don't give a damn about the establishment, because if the establishment is not signing your paychecks, the establishment can go, look. I was about to say some stuff. To pause. What we have to understand is that you're new blood, Jesse. You didn't get in there by endorsements. You didn't get in there by references and recommendations. You didn't get in there because your daddy or your granddaddy was in the political environment. You got in there based off of what you know and what you do. So you are going to not only make the establishment nervous, you're going to make them frustrated. You're going to piss a few people off, specifically because you're bringing difference. You're bringing change. You're modifying tradition, and you're basing it off of logic and rationale, which no man can argue against. Women can argue against logic and rationale all fucking day, but no man can argue against logic and rationale. If the shit makes sense, I don't like it. I don't like you, but the shit makes sense. So there's nothing I can say about it. Anybody who thinks this doesn't make sense, vote against the man. I can't vote against the man because the shit makes sense. That is the position that you're in right now. So it doesn't matter what people think. If you're doing the right thing and it's backed by facts, it's backed by data, it's backed by logic and reason, they can't argue against that. If you're putting this guy in there and it's a skeptical situation because the guy's got a shady past, hey, that's the kind of stuff you've got to ask yourself, is it really worth it? But I mean, if you stand by what's about to happen, he says, this endorsement would not necessarily help my career. This is a decision of principle. Right. So, not helping your career. I'm not a man of principles. I say it like that because while I am a man of principle, I have integrity. I have high levels of self-respect and mutual respect. And I do stand on a certain level of personal principle. Uh, when I make decisions for the betterment of somebody else, I'm not, uh, when you say principle, you're implying that you are doing it just because you can. You're doing it just because it'll rock the boat a little bit. You're doing it just because uh, you might feel like this other guy deserves it, but it doesn't benefit you at all to put this guy over. Um, that's not a good look. Benefiting you doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, well, I'm going to get a raise or a promotion, or I'm going to get a chair in the White House because I put this guy over. Benefiting you is, well, this guy has certain policies and certain political views that will open doors that I don't have to knock down when I get to his level. That helps you out. Putting this guy in a position where if he's sitting in one chair and Royce is sitting in the other chair, I got two people on my side when I sit in the next chair. That helps you out. If these two guys are going to put me over later on in life, where when I start running for something, I got two candidates that's already in office that's going to back me up, which gives me their constituents as my voters. That benefits you. So just doing it just because you can, just doing it just because it's a sunny day today, just doing it because of whatever, that's not what I would do. But if you believe in it, you got to stand up for what you believe in, do what you know is right, and do it by any means necessary. But you also have to accept the consequences of your decisions before you perform those decisions, right? So the dynamic of things is that you're supposed to recognize, to the best of your ability, what outcomes are going where and how this is going to benefit you. It has to benefit you if you're going to put effort into it. Even if it benefits you in an insignificant fashion down the road, that's going to be like millions of sandwiches. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have to find your benefit from this endorsement. Because one of the things about political endorsements is that it's your fucking reputation, bro. It is your reputation. And if he scandals out for any reason, your reputation, you endorsed That's the first thing that's going to happen when this guy circles a toilet bowl is they're going to come running in your face. The press is going to come running in your face. How do you feel about endorsing such and such a guy? Because then they're going to say that you make poor decisions because you put somebody in a political position that had a political scandal. So again, find the benefit of putting this guy over, not just basic principle. Now, Michael says both parties have their hands in your pockets. Neither parties are good for society, but you can't have one without the other. Yeah, I agree with you on that, Michael. That you you gotta if their hands is in your pockets, you gotta be able to stick your hands in their pockets to get something out of it. He says principle means standing for what you believe, regardless of circumstance. In my opinion, I okay, so I understand that, but is it doing it out of his principle or your principle? Because if it's your principles that he's representing, then by all means endorse him because you would have said the same stuff that he's saying. So back that up. But I mean, if his principle and you're just endorsing him because he has values that he's willing to fall on the sword for, nah, I'm not doing that either. Now, the rest of Jesse's opinion is I want to help a pastor who is a good man. There are strategic ideas to think about. So I like your question. Well, my questions are unorthodox. My entire way of approaching life is extremely unorthodox. And the reason being is because the standard traditional way of doing things isn't fucking working for anybody. And that's one of the reasons why I come from the most unorthodox left field, always looking for another way position. You've got an ex-basketball player, now you got a pastor running for politics. It doesn't matter what walk of life they came from. If you stand by his political views where it is your principles that you are endorsing in him, back it up 100%. Back it up. I'm that guy where like I said before, and I said this in the show when people got pissed off at me, I would have voted for Kamala Harris because I wanted the $1 million that they were offering for the reparations for lineage related to slavery. I could give two shits about the whole topic, but the fact is that I'm related to somebody that would have qualified for that $1 million, and I would have directly gotten access to that $1 million. So I would have made the vote to put the money directly into my pocket. I wouldn't have made the vote because I disagreed with everything that she said, but when she said $1.3 million for, descendants born before 1965, I know somebody right now that I can get $1.3 million from just by putting that vote in, and I would have direct access to handling that money. That's where my vote would have went. But when I say, okay, well, I don't agree with the abortion laws and they're about to make the abortion laws more unfair for men, in that exact same dynamic, I would have voted against the exact same candidate to keep my right as a father for being able to be a father and not have my rights taken away from me. So you got to understand when you start backing a person's principles, their principles match your principles, then endorse them. If some of his principles contradict some of your principles, like Steven said, don't endorse them. Just promote the positive qualities that you agree with. Just promote the positive qualities that you agree with. Now, if everything he's got to say, if everything that he's doing is 100% or 99% in line with what you're trying to do, where the 5 or 1% of stuff about, but it don't really matter because the rest of the stuff you're good for, hey, push it. Because nobody's perfect. You don't expect him to be 100% of the way on your side, but at least 90%, 90 to 95%. If he's 90 to 95% of everything that he says, you would back that up blindfolded, then go ahead, endorse it. Because again, you're not promoting somebody else's principles just because he's a pastor. You're promoting your principles. So you want to endorse your principles in his political campaign, regardless of who he is and where it came from. That's the dynamic. And that is how it benefits you. Because if he is promoting your principles and Royce is promoting your principles, you have two people already in politics that are promoting your principles. When you start promoting your principles in a political campaign that you run, you're going to have two people in office that can back your play. That is how this guy would benefit you by endorsing him. Does that make sense? Is that like the pastor because he is an honest and he is honest, and where I disagree, I know he means well. So I think you have given me encouragement to make this happen. Well, yeah. My position is on the fact that you disagree with certain things about him. I would follow Steven's recommendations and I would give him positive praise on the areas that you agree with. And if there are areas that you don't agree with that he means well, you're not speaking on that part because you don't want to speak negatively about the guy. You don't want to contradict him. You want to see him succeed, but don't put a full on endorsement on the guy. Because if you put a full on endorsement, everything you disagree with, you're promoting this guy to push stuff that you don't agree with. And if the stuff that you don't agree with sees more sunlight than the stuff that you do agree with, you're going to be pissed off because you endorse this guy to sit in this position and do stuff that he believes in. So again, that's going to put us in a position where you have to ask yourself, is what you disagree with the majority of what he's pushing or the minority of what he's pushing? And if what you agree with is the majority of what he's pushing, give him positive praise, but not a full-on endorsement. Now, if he's gonna ruffle some feathers for you, if he's gonna be the guy where if you scratch my back and give me an endorsement, I'll scratch your back and give you an endorsement down the line once I get in office, give him the endorsement. Give him the endorsement because even though there's part of what he's got going on that you don't agree with, he's gonna endorse you. That's how your career goes further. So I'm trading the stuff I don't agree with for his representation in the stuff I do agree with when I run for something. Because he's going to be in office 2 to 4 years. Sometimes they go unopposed, or sometimes they just win repetitively and they be in there 8 to 10 years. And in that position, you're able to tap these guys on the shoulder and say, hey, I helped you get into your seat. Help me get into mine. Yeah, it's about future situations. He says, my endorsement will end following an upcoming convention. I will then support another candidate. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So what you're doing is that you're not actually putting up a full-on endorsement for the guy. You are showing support for the person who's trying to run for a good cause. So you're not actually giving a full-on endorsement. You agree with some of the stuff that he's talking about, and you believe that he should be given a chance. So you're giving positive praise to the positive qualities of this candidate. You're not following this candidate to the ends of the earth. You're not, like I said, falling on a sword for this guy. You are just going. You say that give him a chance. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Now, if you're going to be the referral, if Jesse Talks Truth is the referral guy for politics to get into position, not every political person will you say, I put my full-on endorsement on this guy. But a lot of times you will say, hey, I think this guy has a good mindset and we should give him a try. Which almost sounds like an endorsement, but you're not saying, hey, I stand by everything he says. That's the difference. You want to make sure that you separate your personal political views that disagree with his from his political position and say, hey, while there's stuff about him that I think we should give him a try, and I agree with this, and this, I think we should give him a try because of that, right? So everything you don't agree with, you're not talking about that. So if I was in that situation where I'm not going to say, well, I endorse Kamala Harris 100% of the way, but I did think that $1 million was a good idea. At least for me, I can't say what it would have did for the rest of America. I know that a lot of people would have been pissed off because they didn't qualify for it, but it would have helped all of the minority senior citizens have a final place to live where they wouldn't be homeless and thrown out and all this other stuff. It would have done a lot. It would have stimulated the economy. It would have caused a bunch of financial chaos, caused a bunch of inflation, probably would have corrupted the system. But the principle was, I would have had $1 million. He said, this is not a scratch my back, I scratch yours. This is a good man with a small chance of winning. He is who I like best, so I want him to be given a chance. Okay, so if you really want this man to succeed and you got to give a full-on endorsement to help him succeed, then do that. And then take a favor out of his pocket and tell him you owe me. Because even though you're not doing this to scratch his back, you did kind of scratch his back a little bit, and you're going to tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, bud, I'm running for X, Y, and Z situation. I'd like for you to stand next to me. It's the least you can do, my friend. Steven says if you want to align yourself with him, take him out to lunch and get to know him. But that's what I'm saying. Jesse already knows this guy well enough to back this guy. It's just not 100%. The guy has a slim chance of winning, according to what Jesse's saying, or at least from what I'm reading. And the fact is that the guy could be a good fit for the role that he's running for. He says, be seen with him at community events. Good idea. CFE is the same guy eating a hot dog and baked beans as on camera. That's a good idea too. I don't need anything from him. What you give, you shall receive. Okay, so I respect your mentality. However, this is politics. And in politics, sometimes, just like, for example, you see what's happening with Royce, right? His ex-wife comes out of nowhere talking trash about him. A good character witness would be someone else that knows Royce, that's able to step up and say, oh no, what she's saying is horse crap, right? Now, likewise, you don't have any skeletons in your closet. But let's say that down the line, Royce is in the office, the pastor's in the office, you're running for an office of some kind. Your enemy, but not your enemy, your political opponent decides to mudsling instead of talk politics. Try to just ruin your reputation, just ruin your public view. Now, nobody knows who you are because you're not a second, third, fourth generation politician. You're not legacy politics. You have the only reputation is what you've built over the short period of years that you've been in politics. Royce standing on one side, the pastor standing on the other side, and maybe even a third or fourth person that you backed along the way is standing in there. Now you have 5 or 7 politicians that have already been elected by the people that are hopefully doing a good job at the time that will then endorse you to be in whatever position that you're in. And that is still a scratch my back, scratch your back situation, but you're getting in based on merit because your reputation of putting over good men allowed those made men to help you get made. It's still a my scratch back, your scratch back situation, but you're not doing it for an underhanded blackmail extortion situation. I thought you were a good dude. I believe that you have a good vision. You're going to help the country. You're going to help the city, the state, the government that you're representing. Same thing with Royce. Those guys get into position. You're going to run for something because you're not in politics to just be a fall guy. You're not in politics just to stand back and look attractive. You have political views, and if possible, you would like to be in a political position to see your views get put on paper and get put into action so that the public can benefit from your political views. So as a result, so you're not an anchorman on these politics. You literally have a vision and you stand by politicians that push that vision. And as a result, you're still going to say, hey, I'm going to put this guy over. But once he gets over, when it's my turn for the spotlight, he's going to re-angle that spotlight towards me and make sure that I get in there, or at least do the best he can, right? And that's all I'm saying. It doesn't need to be a because again, when we start talking about blessings, you get blessings before you can give them to somebody else. In order for you to give something to someone else, you had to have extra. In order for you to have extra, you had to already be blessed before you was able to give. You don't get blessings after the fact. Okay, you're not doing this with the intent to get something in return. You're doing this because the man deserves it based on your opinion. However, you're going to remind him that it would benefit you after the fact if he does the same thing for you. You're asking for reciprocation. It's a little bit different. You're not asking him to ruin his reputation to put you over. You're asking him to reciprocate when it's your turn to run for something. Take time out of your busy schedule and come stand by me when I run for something. Come to one of my campaigns. You know what I mean? And that's all you're really doing. And that makes that it's still going to be somewhat of a tit for tat situation. But the fact is that you're doing a good deed for him. not a corrupt deed. You're doing a good deed for him. And in return, you're asking that when it is your time to shine, that you ask him to do a good deed for you as well. And that's going to be part of how politics works. You got to rub elbows with the right people so that when it's time for you to fly, they're holding the wings up for you. See, I agree. Politics is a dirty game. The pastor is a good man, totally removed from the dirty political game. My endorsement of him would stand to test of time. Right now, that's my point. So with politics being a dirty game, you start putting good people into dirty politics. And if they remain clean, when you do a clean campaign, you can have clean people back you in a clean campaign. And now you have the holy grail, because you've got a man of the clock, you've got an athlete, you got all walks of life backing you up, and you're still going to be in a political position where when you say, hey, this change needs to happen, who's going to argue against you? Because you can't have any type of anti-government person jump out of nowhere and start talking trash, because at the end of the day, as soon as they come from left field, you got somebody on the left. It's like, no, he did good over here too. You know what I mean? You got somebody on the far right. Nope, he did good over here too. You got a few independents in the middle talking trash. Nope, he did good over here too. That's what I'm talking about. If nothing else, they're a reference, right? You just got to remember that. Whenever you don't do favors for people in society in order to get something out of it, but in politics, you got to remember everybody you helped, because in politics, each person that you helped is going to be indebted to you, whether they want to be or not. They're going to be indebted to you. It feels like a bad word, but if you think about it as grateful, gratitude, gracious, they really appreciate you. What was it, Psalms? I can't remember which one it was, but when you do something for somebody, you get your blessings back tenfold because of how much the other person values what you did for them. So what happens is that you do a good deed for somebody, and they may pay you back tenfold because it meant 10 times more to them than what it did to you. You're just doing it because this is a good dude, but you help him get into a position that he might have not got into without you. He might owe his entire political career to you. As a result, you might ask him for what you believe is a small favor, and for him, it seems like his perfect opportunity to pay you back for a career of success. Again, this isn't extortion. This is just saying, hey, remember me when I run for something and back my play. That's all I'm saying. Now, let's go ahead and get to today's topics. Special shout out to Jesse Talks Truth. Stephen and Michael is in here. And now we're going to be talking about the cheap dating tricks. And I want you guys to like and subscribe and mash those reaction buttons. We got a lot, so we're going to be here for a couple more hours. But imagine this, guys. You match with her, 3 messages in, she's already grilling you. What do you do for a living? What kind of car do you drive? How many other girlfriends are you talking to right now? Your gut, the little compass inside that screams when something is off, is blaring, right? Like an air raid siren, like the purge siren, right? It's a huge red flag. But then the other voice is going to kick in, the one that you've heard dozens of times, pickup artist videos, the one that tells you this is all part of the game, right? It whispers, don't blow it, play along, be cool, be detached, don't show your cards, right? So you play, you try to be clever, you dodge the questions that you don't feel comfortable with some witty remarks that you memorize. You try to flip the script and create a mystery. And for a second there, it seems like it's working. The tension breaks, she laughs a little bit, and the conversation keeps going, but you've just made a fatal mistake. Cut to 6 months later, you're emotionally exhausted, your bank accounts are a lot lighter, and your confidence is shot to hell. You feel manipulated, drained, and more confused than ever. Why? Because in the critical moment, you chose to play a game instead of standing on your principles. You handed your life buildable reputation, that solid, consistent, trustworthy identity that we talked about in the first part when we covered this like a week or so ago. You hand that over to someone who lives for the tricks, for the drama, and emotional chaos. You let a game player set the rules. And in her world, you can never really win. Last time, we provided a lot of information that proved that being a reliable, high value man, what we call life buildable man, will always beat being a pickup artist. We blew up the myth that you can trick your way into genuine, lasting attraction. I mean, you can trick your way into a one night stand. You can, it ain't tricking if you got it, but you can trick your way into long term hookups or whatever the case may be. But a long standing, genuine relationship, that's not where tricks are played. We established that your reputation is built through consistent, authentic action. That is your single greatest asset. But what happens when you're doing everything right? You're building your life, you're acting with integrity, you're being the man that you're proud to be. And still, you find yourself attracting women who thrive on drama, who live for games, and who drain your energy. A lot of us experience that. Isn't it going to be the critical next step? If you've built the foundation of the house, now it's time to install the security system. It's time to upgrade your filter. In tonight's show, I'm not going to hand you a list of red flags. I'm going to give you the one advised skill that you need to master so that you spot and effortlessly avoid the women who will derail your mission. This is going to be the filter that separates the men who build empires with a strong partner from the men who constantly putting out fires in their own lives. This is how you stop being hunted by chaos and start attracting the partner that you actually deserve. But before we get into the how-tos, we need to ground this in some hard truths, because this isn't about feeling good uh, as you plateau. It's about how things actually work. The whole idea of being your true self has been watered down. But make no mistake, authenticity is a strategic advantage. Recent research in social psychology is painting a pretty clear picture. Study after study shows that people who are authentic, meaning their actions match their core values, build relationships that are not only more satisfying, but last a whole lot longer. One huge review of multiple studies found that couples who are just straight with each other, they just tell each other like it is, experience way more intimacy and less conflict. I didn't like the way you said it, but you told me how it was, so I know what's going on. Research has even linked having an authentic partner to being mentally healthy for both people in the relationship. Being real allows you to build deeper connections because they're built on truth. Now, I know that a lot of these young boys, the slang and they be real, they're not actually uh, emphasizing that you tell me the unfiltered truth. It's just don't joke with me kind of thing. And I think that the young folks need to change their mentality about that. The terminology "be real" needs to be like you need to be more genuine, more authentic. You need to be more 100% bluntly honest with me. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't beat around the bush. If You got me out there on karaoke now sounding bad and then saying you did good because everybody applauded because I got off the stage. They could be applauding because I got off the stage and they're glad that I'm finished, not that I did a good job while I was up there. So you got to tell the truth, right? That's being real, and that's not what a lot of people are thinking about a lot of times. It's just, be real. Are you serious about what you're saying? Not genuine about it. Because I could be seriously bullshitting you, right? It's not the same, right? So you really got to think about what this means. When you're authentic, you're building a relationship on solid ground. You're showing up as you are, which lets someone connect with the real you, which is actually more beneficial in the long term, because if you are pretending to be what you think they want you to be, eventually you will reach a point in your relationship where you no longer perform that way because you believe that you have the security of the relationship. And that is when your partner is going to recognize that you have changed. You didn't change. You stopped putting on a show. You stopped pretending like something they wanted, not being exactly what they needed. See, if you are who you say you are from day one, there's no change. There's no clocking out of being your authentic self. If you're a highly intellectual person and you be that, regardless of how people behave around you, your views, your positions, whatever it is, they're going to back your play regardless. And 10, 20 years later, who you said you was back in the day is who you still are today, because your core self is what you project. Right? That's going to be what creates trust and security, because trust is initially given, but it's mutual trust. Respect is usually given, but it's mutual respect. Higher levels of trust. Trusting you to be my emergency contact is not what we're talking about here, but people make emergency contacts like a very high valued position. For every provider, your emergency contact is just the extra person to reach out to you in order to pay the bill. But for the sake of a medical emergency, your emergency contact will be the first person that's called if you get carted into the hospital and you're unconscious, because somebody related to you has to authorize certain medical treatment in order to expedite your recovery. The hospital has the legal right to stabilize you, but the hospital doesn't have the legal right to do life-altering surgeries on you. They have to get authorization from a power of attorney, next of kin, somebody who has a legal authorization to make decisions on your behalf, so that if that decision ends in your death, that the hospital is usually not held responsible for that, right? So for the sake of being called that, hey, your spouse is up a creek without a paddle, right? I actually found there was some old war guys that said, we would get a small list of people that we would want to know what's going on with us, put that on a piece of paper and laminate that and put that in our pocket. Not necessarily in your wallet, but put it in your pocket, laminate it and put it in your pocket. Now, that's more valuable than your social security card. Why? Because you don't need your ID. They can steal your wallet. They can take your life. But in that back pocket, in that top pocket, it's just a list of phone numbers of people who should probably know that you didn't make it. You don't even have to have their name in there. You could just have best friend, mom, sister, brother, girlfriend, phone numbers. And they will, most people who rob you are looking for money. They're not looking for your contact list. And, if situation goes south, that list of numbers would clearly aid somebody in contacting your next of kin, or somebody who should value you and say, hey, so-and-so didn't make it. But also that that list of people are the people that you could potentially call if you got arrested and say, hey, in my pocket, I had a piece of paper with some phone numbers on it. Let me get that. I got one phone call. Your list should have, number one, the person who will answer a collect call from a jail. That should be the first two people on the list, because they usually only give you one call. They might give you two. But after that, it's like, hey, in my pocket, there was a piece of paper with some numbers on it. I want that. Because you can even take that to jail with you. They're not going to deny you that because it's just some phone numbers. And that's what you're going to be able to utilize to call people once you get booked, right? Come bail me out, right? So, but that's what emergency contacts is for. Trust, like having access to my bank accounts. That takes a lot of effort. That takes like 5 or 10 years worth of being around somebody and not fucking up their money. Being given checkbooks, being giving giving out the keys to the car, that's starting to become like second nature to, like, you give a stranger the car because you don't feel like driving. But like letting somebody live in your house while you're not home, like you go out of town and they got your house, like that's not as big of a thing because they got house sitters now. But like giving somebody the legal authorization to just like move into your house and just stay there kind of thing, like those are some bigger deals that requires a little bit more trustworthy efforts, right? So these things take time. And in the security, like trusting your daughter with your homeboys and stuff like that, this stuff comes from them not misbehaving around your kids, them not misbehaving around young kids ever, them not having felonies related to kids, the societal trust. Now let's flip that, right? Because I went on a rant on that one. Let's flip that and look at the world of tricks and games. The tactics taught by the pickup artist community often borrow from psychologists, what they call the dark triad of personality traits, like narcissism, uh, mischievous villainism, and psychopathy. So these tactics, like negging, giving backhanded compliments, creating false scarcity, or playing hard to get, can absolutely create a short-term spark in the female, but it's a negative one. They trigger a dopamine rush and a sense of challenge. Women like challenges. They like hard to get. They like to get something they can't have. It's a neurological trick, right? Like hitting a mini jackpot at a slot machine after losing a shit ton of money. Well, I did win, but I lost way more than I won, right? Here's the problem, though. And this problem sparked a lot of fireworks, but sparking a lot of fireworks is not a burning fireplace. Relationships are built on these tricks and are inherently unstable. And one of the problems that we're going to have with these types of relationships is that if you used nifty tricks and stuff like that, gimmicks, to win them over, you have to try even harder throughout the relationship doing nifty tricks and gimmicks to keep them. The harder it is to get her, the harder it is to keep her. If you walked up with a woman and you were like, all right, I think you're good, you stay with me. And she looks up and she's like, all right, I'll follow your lead until this stops being convenient. Wasn't much effort in there. You keep checking back, making sure that her expectations are being met. That communication allows for you to maintain a relationship with her that turns into a lifelong partnership. As long as you're prioritizing her goals alongside your goals, the decisions that you make benefit her. The agreement was she's going to ride this wave as long as it's convenient, right? So you find out what is identified as convenient. And if it's reasonable, you got that. There's no effort there. A lot of women in America are going to say, I don't like that. That's not a challenge. That's no. But relationships of convenience are actually exactly that. He wants to get laid. You need extra money to pay your bills. He starts offering to pay for certain things to bail you out of a thing. Y'all start off as like platonic friends, but he keeps offering to pay for stuff. He keeps offering to take you places. He keeps offering to take the stress off of your plate. Y'all end up somewhere drinking some kind of way, and then y'all end up sleeping together, and then y'all turn into a relationship where he just starts paying for your stuff. He continues to reassure you that he's got it, he's got it, he's got it, but he's putting all this money on the table so they can sleep with you. His goal is to get laid with a consistent sex partner. Your goal is financial stability. It's convenient. Now, what happens is that if you're working and he's working, and then he loses the job that was paying for the stuff that you needed paid for, and now you no longer have that person paying for you, now the relationship is no longer convenient. Y'all start fighting because he's not what you wanted. He's just, what was benefiting you at the time. That relationship tends to dwindle out, and it doesn't usually last more than 1 year, 5 months, 6 days, 1 year and a half, right? These are defined by a lack of trust and constant emotional insecurity in a relationship, which is why these girls have to GPS track their boyfriends. They're so insecure about you hitting the like button on a photo on social media that they're going to start up an argument with you about that. And at the end of the day, it's just a photo. It's not just a photo to her. To her, you just connected. You just touched this girl inappropriately on the other side of the planet by liking this photo, right? Why? Because the insecurity of she knows that you like what you see on this phone, and you have more time away from her to have a communication with this other person that could connect you with that other person in person. And a lot of women's insecurity believes that they just know that you're not satisfied with where you are. And that's going to be the reason why they're always going to be afraid that you're going to move on. Very few women who have this emotional insecurity that their man's going to leave put in the effort to ensure that their man stays. They just fuss at him, yell at him, curse at him, force him to socially ostracize himself away from society so that she knows that he can't go anywhere because he can't communicate with anybody else. He's afraid to communicate with other people to prevent from pissing off his girl. But trapping him in the relationship to give her emotional security, encourage him to move on and find emotional peace. It's a chaotic relationship. So people who play games are usually avoiding real vulnerability and connection. And it's going to be a strategy born from a fear of rejection, because men don't like to be rejected as much, or a need for power. Women like to be in charge. When you play these games, you're stepping into a world where connection is just a means to an end. Validation, control, or an ego boost, not the goal itself. So the energy that you spend faking it or trying to figure out if she's faking it is exhausting. It's a full-time job with no benefits, only burnout. And the more effort you have to put into it, the quicker you burn out. A relationship with the person who loves drama can feel like a constant roller coaster of thrilling highs and draining lows. This brings us back to the core concept. The life buildable man isn't playing for short-term validation. He's building something that lasts. He's getting that his time, energy, and peace are his most valuable resources now. So wasting them on relationships built on tricks is like building a skyscraper on quicksand. It doesn't matter how impressive it looks for a little while, because a collapse is coming sooner than you'd like. So for the first layer of your new filter is this core understanding. Authenticity isn't a weakness. It's your primary strategy. It's a filtering mechanism all by itself. So by showing up as your genuine self, you immediately push away those who are looking for a gain and attract those who are looking for something real. So let's be honest about the world that we're in. Modern dating, especially on the apps, is a brutal numbers game. And if you don't understand the system, you're going to fall for the lies that people are selling. Recent data from places like Pew Research paints the stark picture for a lot of them that experience is one of the feelings of invisibility, facing constant rejection, and then also being compared to an endless lineup of other guys. Guys don't like being compared to other guys, the same way girls don't like being compared to other girls. Well, girls compare themselves to other girls, but no girl likes a man to compare her to another girl. But women have no problem with having a discussion with the guy that she's with right now, always comparing him to the last guy or the guy before that. Sometimes they try to do it as a compliment by saying that my last guy or the guy before that never did this for me, but you're doing it, which shows that you are a step up above the rest. But she's still comparing you with the other guys, which means that the other guys are still in mind. Even if she's insulting you by saying that the other guys that she used to be with used to do the things that you're not doing, which puts you down and shows that you're not meeting the par of performance in comparison to the other guys that the girl's been with. But in either situation, it's an insult because as genuine of a man you expect that man to be, what he's doing for you exclusively right now is for you, not for the other women that the guy used to have 20 years ago. He's doing it for you, not in competition with the other men that you've had over the past 10 years. Right? One of the one things I hate hearing from a woman, and they say it in a flirtatious manner. I bet you say that to all the girls. No. If I've said it before, because again, this is going to be an irony situation. There's only so many words in any language, and there's only so many phrases in any language. And each individual person is only going to have a certain type of dialogue. If I've said these words in this phrase, in this pattern before in my life over the past 40 years, the way I felt about that person might be equivalent to the way I feel about you now. The effort I was willing to put into that person is probably going to be the effort that I'm going to put into you now. The motivation that I had to stay with that person, it might be the same motivation that I have to stay with you now. But the fact that I might have said this before doesn't change the value of me saying it now, because we also have to recognize the first time you tell somebody in your mid 40s that you love that person, that's not the first time you've told somebody in a relationship that you love them. So, does I love you at 45 hold any less valuable weight in your romantic relationship than I love you at 16? No, it doesn't. You can actually have 150 people that you fall in love with, like deeply in love with, over the course of a lifetime, which, depending on the lifespan, is an average of 3 people a year. Which means that you can get married and still fall in love with 2 or 3 people a year that's not your married partner for the rest of your marriage. You just don't act on those feelings, right? So when girls come up and they do that comparison, you say that to all the girls. You're destroying the whole relationship before it even gets started. But a lot of guys, because this is a game that we play, tit for tat, she's going to devalue your genuineness and make it seem like you play that line for all the other girls. And then you have to prove that you're authentic, right? You have to prove that you're saying something different. You have to, because you're not bringing a line that 5 or 7 other guys have told her before. You're trying to do something that has never been done before, or at least hasn't been done with her recently that she can remember, right? But that's all about playing the games. When you're genuine, it's like, not a now another person should have walked up with you the way I walked up with you. So you should assume that this doesn't happen very often, right? But a lot of guys are going to have that experience where they feel like they're being compared to a lion. And it's going to feel like you're shouting into a void. And that's not just a feeling for many men, it's a statistical reality. And this whole system creates what I call the insecurity engine. It takes a good, solid man that grinds down to an insecure man. All men go through this at some point. insecurity engine will take strong, solid men and chip away at their security and grind them down throughout their life until they're men of insecurity. It's going to make you question what you're worth. And when you're feeling insecure and frustrated, you become the perfect customer for those pickup artist industries. They prey on the exact pain that you feel from constantly being worn down by societal negativity. These guys, they show up and say, hey, system is broken, but we have the cheat codes, right? I talked to you guys about this in the other show. We have the secret lines and the magic techniques that will fix it for you, right? But here's the devastating truth. They don't want you to know. Their tricks don't fix the problem. Their tactics will actually make it worse. Why? Because playing games is a direct attack on the one thing that can actually help you beat the brutal numbers, your reputation. Remember a life buildable man scaling through his reputation. I told you this about that like the last time we talked about this. Life buildable men scale in life through their reputation. That's one of the things me and Jesse was talking about at the beginning of the show. He was supposed to be promoting somebody in his political career, and I was telling him, hey, your full-on endorsement is your reputation on the line. So you don't endorse a guy that doesn't 100% align with what you got going on. You just positively reinforce the guy. You know, hey, yeah, he's got some good views. I think he's a good guy to get to give him a chance, kind of thing. You know, let's see what he can do. It sounds like an endorsement, but it's not like, hey, my reputation. Big difference, right? But buildable men build themselves on reputation. So that means that when Jesse starts running for office with all the people that Jesse's putting over, when he does run, he should have a lot of people that got elected that should back him when he's running for something, that he's being backed by politicians, politics and politicians, right? Likewise, in today's topic, a life buildable man builds a life of integrity and purpose, and that's going to become his magnetic north. So things that don't look authentic, things that compromise a man's integrity, they're not going to fall for that. So the tricks that are on the other hand, those are going to be those short-term gambles that actively wreck your long-term value. When you use a manipulative lie, you might get a date, but you've also shown that you're the kind of guy who uses manipulative lies. When you play hot and cold, you might create a temporary intrigue, but you've also shown that you're emotionally unavailable or willing to mess with someone else's feelings. And ironically, for those of us who date in the same area, meaning that you go on multiple dates in your neighborhood, you might go on multiple dates in your city. If you use the same pickup lines on 5 or 7 different girls in the same nightclub, oh yeah, you build a reputation. That guy always uses that line on certain girls, right? Which is one of the reasons why we say that your favorite hangout spot, you should not pick up girls at your favorite hangout spot. You should go to other places and pick up girls, because when you're picking up girls in other places, it's a different place that you pick up a different girl each time, where you're not visiting the same place multiple times in a month or multiple times in a season, so that the establishment doesn't remember you, because the reputation of how you picked up the girl, what you did to pick up the girl, and how long that engagement lasts is the reputation that is in that establishment. When you walk into the building, walk through the door of that establishment, the workers know what kind of guy you are based on how you talk to the girls, based on the tactics you use to pick up the girls, based on the type of girls that you pick up, and then how long before you come back and pick up another girl, right? So this is heavily important. Every time you choose a trick over authenticity, you make a withdrawal from your reputational bank account. If you're an authentic individual, and let's say that you're in a restaurant or in a nightclub or a bar or a smoking lounge or a gentleman's club or whatever, you're just sitting there, you're having your little drinks, you're minding your own business, you're having intellectual communication with individuals, male and female alike. You might exchange contacts with somebody. Um, if they're benefiting from communicating with you, that you're genuine about who you are, when you do find yourself attracted to somebody at that establishment, all of the people that have communicated with you have the same opinion of you, preferably positive, highly intellectual, well organized. You got your stuff together, and as a result, they should promote you to the person that you're interested in. That reputation gives you a warm lead or even a hot lead on securing a relationship or a date. This also works with business. Respecting your colleagues and positively putting over your colleagues, like what Jesse's doing in politics, leads to positive endorsements from the people that you put over. Once they get elected, they help you get elected. It's a you scratch me, I scratch you situation because y'all got into y'all's position, and now y'all are political authorities that can put me into my position. That it's a hopscotch scenario, but it works in corporate office as well. I help 3 or 4 people get promoted from my level. Now they're the supervisors that decides my promotion. Guess what happens to me? I get promoted as long as I maintain a positive relationship with those guys. It's based off of reputation. So every time you choose a trick over authenticity, you're going to make a withdrawal from your reputational bank. Now, you're going to build a reputation as a man who plays games. And guess what? You will attract what you are. If you're playing games, you will attract others who also play games. You will attract women who are drawn to that type of chaos and who speak that dysfunctional language. So, while you think you're using a magic pill to solve your dating problems, you're actually swallowing a poison that guarantees that you stay stuck in the exact cycle of drama that you're trying to escape from. The tricks don't just fail to solve the problem, they make the problem bigger. They are the magnets for chaos. A man who gets this doesn't look for a cheat code. He knows the only way to win is to stop playing the short term game and start building a long term strategy based on authentic values. He focuses on becoming the prize, not on leaning into and learning tricks to win a prize that isn't even worth having. Because we got a lot of times that women will argue, the feminist model will argue that men are not the prize, that women are the prize. And I argue against that mentality specifically because when a woman gets with a man, a woman can name and label all of the ways that she benefits from that man. The financial security, a higher standard of living, better house, better cars, more stable income. If the guy's got a positive reputation, more access to a better network, all of the things that makes a man considered valuable. Now, a woman who can get all these things for herself may feel like she doesn't need a man. However, she fulfilled the values that are expected of a man, and now she's trying to find a man that's better than that. If she does, no matter how good of a man she's become, she has found a man that's better than that, which means that that man has more access than she does. He has more wealth than she does. He has better social network than she does. He has more access to upscale and higher level things than what she does. And she's going to connect to that man. Now, we're going to still say that that man is still a prize for the woman because what the majority of women are looking for is about 23, maybe even 1% of the population of men. And what men are looking for is like what 99% of women can potentially do, but they choose not to. When I've asked women a lot of the times, it's like when you get into a relationship with a man, a decent man, right? You come out of it with more than what you went into it with. A lot of women will say no because they don't want to admit the fact that they did it. You come out of it with the car. You come out of it with look at every divorce. You went into this relationship with nothing, clothes on your back, a couple of items of furniture, You lived with the guy for 10 years, you divorce him, and now you're taking the house, you're taking the car. You're gonna keep the kids on purpose, not because the kids want to be with you, but because the kids become a check. I'm gonna put it like that. Women don't have to agree with it, but that's why women get kids. Women don't get the kids because the men can't take care of the children. Women get the kids because society puts the women with the kids, and the women want the kids so that the women can get an income from the kids. Because if the women couldn't afford the kids, because that's going to be the excuse, since the woman fought to keep the kids, now the woman's going to say, well, I can't afford the kids. Oh, you should give me child support. Well, if you want the child and you don't want the father to be involved, then you should pay for the child by your damn self. You shouldn't ask for a fucking dollar. Because if you give the child to the father will not call you up and say, hey, I can't afford X, Y, and Z. He's going to figure it out. A woman would not be on child support because of the father. If the court ordered it, it'd be a court order, but the woman would not be on child support because of the father if the child lived with the father. The father would do it on his own, right? Because men are providers. So when we look at this and then we ask a woman, okay, hey, you can get all this stuff from the relationship if the relationship fails. Well, what does a man get from you in the relationship? And then if the relationship fails, how is the man better off after the relationship is over than what he was when you met him? Most women will admit that the man either was exactly where he was when she met him, or he was worse off, which is why she left. So they don't build the man up to something better. They linger with him while he is where he has plateaued, and then they leave him if he falls off. That's what we got going on. So you have to understand, the men are the prize because you benefit from the man more often than the man benefits from the woman. The benefit from a good woman is going to be the woman that aids the man into being more successful, but there are very few of those in modern 2026 dating society. You can find them, and before we get into the red flags of looking for the women that we need to avoid, we have to talk about something that most people are going to be missing, which is going to be your social circle. But there's a lot of good women that are out there, but they're harder to find because a lot of times we are attracted to and attracting the bad ones. And then we get concerned because we keep ending up with the bad ones, that the majority of them are all bad. But the truth of the matter is that it's we have to change the way we go about engaging the other people in order for us to say that we are surrounded by quality people. Because let's say, for example, last week, I was at a Walmart. Y'all know I'm in Walmart a lot. I was in Walmart, and I was cashing out, and I cashed out, and I went back and I cashed out a second time. So I went shopping twice. And I'm at the register, and there was a female at the register, different color hair. She had to buy the hair, but then after she bought the hair, she changed the colors on it. I'm looking at, she's got bags under her eyes. So that means she doesn't get a lot of sleep. She's got piercings. I already know that there's some emotional issues there. Tattoo. Already know that there's some concern there. With the bags under her eyes, I could put her between 27 and 36. Now, she was polite because that was her employment. But at the end of the day, before she even starts communicating, I can see chaos in her identity, which actually is a red flag. I don't want to find something good in you. I want to be able to observe it, hear about it, see it, experience it. I don't want to have to look for it, because there's good in Hitler had something good about him. That doesn't make him a good person. If you look hard enough, you can find good in the worst people. So my goal isn't to look for good in the worst match for me. The goal is to look for the best match for me, right? But we got to start with our circles, social circles. your friends, your crew, the people that you spend the most time with, even if you spend most time by yourself, but the 1 or 2 hours out of a week that you do hang out with somebody out of a month, those are the people that are the people that have the most influence on you. People that they're living with you, they're breathing the testament to your character and your standards, right? Matter of fact, think about this. If you dress short, like y'all see me on most shows, I'm dressed professional. Sometimes I'm suited up, head to toe. Sometimes I'm dressed casual. Not once have I been on here with a throwback jersey on and a tee, chains, or nothing like that. Not once have I been here in my pajamas. But if my podcast, I'm here in a professional or semi-professional look, and then I had guests on the show, bonnet on, halter top, pajama pants, belly button showing, tattoo on the chest, gold teeth, nose piercings, ear piercing, Mike Tyson tattoo on the face, and that was the guest stars or whatever on the show. My appearance would be drugged down by the appearance of the people who come up on the show. Because the people that you're seen with, the people that you interact with, the people that you communicate with define who you are. The people in the comment section. The intellectual communication that comes from the men in the comment section. They drive a higher level of intellect, where when people come into the comment section that are not interested in trolling, but not interested in the topic, will come in, read what was happening in the comment section and say, nope, I don't want this comment section, and they'll just slide on. It filters out negative communication. Now, the people who are deliberately trolling on a live podcast will see certain comments and then try to dive in and do some stuff, right? But it filters out most of the negative commenters, because the comment section is full of intellectual men that are speaking about intellectual topics, right? So when a female does jump in, she's going to have to jump in with intellect. Otherwise, she will receive the stigma of the comment section, right? Now, we've talked about how every interaction is a reputational deposit or a withdrawal. Well, your social circle is your public balance sheet. It's a principle called social proof. People are far more likely to see you as attractive, trustworthy, and high value if they see that other high value people have already chosen to hang out with you. Think about it from her perspective. When she meets you, she doesn't just meet you, she gets a peek into your world. The same way when people come and see me on a podcast, they don't just see me, they see the comments in the comment section, right? If your world is full of guys who are also on a mission, ambitious, respectful, and have their lives together, what does that say? Well, about you, it's going to say that you have high standards for everyone in your life, not just for your partner. It suggests that you're a man of value, because men of value don't put up with low value people in their inner circle, which was another thing that I was talking to my buddy about, because your friends become your unspoken character reference. When I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we had this conversation on the phone, and I don't have conversations like this with him in front of other people, but we had this conversation on the phone, and I explained to him that when we go certain places, he would try to cock block on me trying to talk to one of the servers or something like that. If I'm looking at one of the females, and I'm like, oh, she's cute, I might want to get to know her a little bit or whatever, and he'll try to chop me down to boost himself up, and I'm like, bro, that makes us both look bad. And then he said, well, after we talked about it for an hour, he's like, well, how about this? How about you give me a sign that shows me? I'm like, no, bro, fuck that shit. This is what we do. If you and I are in a place where you don't know who else is there, you're going to treat that person as a potential prospect that I'm either going to generate a connection from this person, or I'm going to generate a sale from this person. That's how you behave. You behave like we're going to benefit from interacting with this person. By doing so, you're going to be on your best behavior every time you walk up and there's an extra person there that you don't know. It doesn't matter if they came to us or we go to them. This way, you don't accidentally misbehave before I give you the signal, right? I have to teach you. You must carry yourself with a higher standard, because if you devalue me, that makes you less valuable as a person as well, because a person of value does not associate with and affiliate with low value people. If I'm an ain't shit person, me hanging out with you makes you an ain't shit person by proxy. If I'm a man of value, but I'm hanging out with low value women, call girls, escorts, prostitutes, strippers, my integrity as a man, my integrity if I was trying to go into politics, is not going to be the same as a man who doesn't affiliate with that, right? It's like you can't be a judge and your entire social network are drug dealers. You can't be the chief of police and everybody in your family is cartel members. By association, you are affiliated with something negative. This also impacts your dating life. If you got guys that play games, if you got guys that mistreat women, if you've got guys that have low value communication and you hang out with these guys on a regular basis, you don't live by that lifestyle. But when you go to the bar, they embarrass you because they say and do things when they start drinking that you don't stand up for. And you have to carry your homie out of the bar. Doesn't matter that you escorted him out of the bar, you walked in with the bar. So if the guy that walked in is bad news to the bar, you are in the company of bad news. So when they eject bad news, they're going to eject bad news, and bad news is company. All of you get banned from the bar because of something the other guy did. See what I'm saying? And this happens in upscale restaurants. This happens in soirees, book signings, political activist parties. This happens in banks and in everywhere. If you are standing next to the problem and you came in with the problem, they don't just escort the problem out, they escort the problem and everybody who came in with the problem out by affiliation. Right? On the flip side, though, if your circle is full of guys who are negative, disrespectful to women, aimless, caught up in their own drama, what do you think that's going to signal? It's going to signal that you either share those values or you just don't have self-respect to curate your environment and remove yourself from this type of negativity. It's going to scream that you're comfortable with mediocrity and chaos. Your insecurity with separating from the type of friends that you don't benefit from, which is one of the things I was telling Jesse earlier. You have to personally benefit from what you're about to do. This isn't a good faith scenario, because yes, good faith actions can come, but you have to stand on what you're about to do because the outcome will impact you. So you have to live by your decision, right? So if you're affiliating with, these are good men that you're backing, you're endorsing these men, these are good men with good views that are going to have a good position, that's going to do something good for whatever they're running for, back them up, because the outcome of your decision will impact your ability to push similar agendas. You have to recognize that no matter how much you talk yourself up, your social circle will always betray you. If I claim to be a man of intellect, but I'm always bailing my homies out of jail, well, how smart are they? And then if I'm spending all this money bailing my friends out, how smart am I? Right? This is why, as part of building your filter, you have to apply this to your own life first. This is a callback to a key point from part one, the first part of our two-part series about this topic. You have to be ruthless about cutting toxic people out of your life. That friend who's always complaining and playing the victim, he's dragging your reputation down. That buddy who brags about playing games with women, he's making you guilty by association. Building a high integrity social circle isn't just about networking. It's a core part of building your reputation as a life buildable man. It does two things at one time. First, it keeps you in a better headspace, focused on your mission. Second, it acts as a passive filter. High quality women are often more discerning about a man's friends than the man himself because they know it reveals his true standards. Your mission is to build a council of men that you respect, men who hold you accountable, men who are building things. When you do that, your dating life gets better without you even trying. You stop having to tell women you're a high valued man. Your life shows them that you're a high valued man. Your social circle becomes the first and most powerful layer of your screening process, signaling your standards before you ever have to say a word. All right, you get the science. You've rejected the tricks. You're curating your social circle. Now we get to the front lines. This is the filter that you apply in the first 48 hours of talking to somebody new. Okay. And these aren't the obvious red flags like being rude to the waiter. Because, yeah, if they're rude to the waiter, you don't want to associate with them. These are the sneaky, often disguised behaviors that reveal a deep-seated love for drama, games, and manipulation. So if you can master spotting these, you'll save yourself months, even years of heartache. Red flag number one, early boundary testing. I tell you guys on a regular basis that no matter what you do at the beginning of your relationship, you must make it a point to stand on your non-negotiable expectations for behavior. There's absolutely no reason why you're going to allow somebody to misbehave in a way that you normally do not like simply because she's attractive or she's sweet or the sex is good. The same way, no woman should allow a man to misbehave in front of her doing things that she would normally not tolerate simply because he's handsome. He's taking her a lot of places. He's paying for everything. She's experiencing life that she never could experience before him. You are not supposed to allow things that you're not comfortable with to happen simply because they're new. If you're allergic to smokers, no smokers in your house, no smokers in your car, right? They pull out a cigarette, that's a red flag. You're not going to affiliate with them. Why? Because why are you going to compromise your personal health because of their personal preferences? And then why are you going to force them to change their personal decisions to be with you? You're not supposed to force somebody to change to be with you. They are supposed to be able to willingly and capably blend in with you without having to change. So, the early boundary test. This is going to be one of the most common and misunderstood signals out there. A woman who is wired for games will test your boundaries almost immediately. It's her way of checking if you're firm or if you're a pushover. And it's often disguised as being playful or showing high interest, which is why so many guys fail this test. So here's what it looks like. You're texting, you say, hey, great talking to you, but I got to focus on work this afternoon. I'll hit you up tomorrow. A healthy, secure woman will respond with that, something like, sounds good, talk to you then. She respects your time. The woman who lives on drama, however, sees this as an opening. She'll hit you back with, oh, too busy for me already, with a smiley face and a wink. Guess someone else is more interesting. Or she'll just ignore what you said and text you again an hour later. This is not a sign of high interest. It's a stress test. She's poking at your frame to see if it's solid. She's checking if a little emotional pressure will make you fold and put her whims above your own priorities. Most guys, afraid of losing her interest, immediately backtrack. They'll say, no, no, of course, I have time for you, and keep testing. You have just failed the test. You've shown her that your boundaries, your non negotiable expectations for behavior are in fact negotiable, and that she can control your time with minimal effort. The life buildable man passes this test with a calm indifference. He doesn't get defensive, he just doesn't over explain. He just holds the frame. He might not even reply until the next day, like he said. Or he might just respond with a calm, playful, but firm, haha, absolutely, talk tomorrow. He shows through his actions that his word is his bond and his frame is solid. So if you meet a girl and you say, hey, I got something I got to do, like, for example, I got to do this podcast. I'm not going to tell the chick on day one that I do this podcast, but I will tell the girl that I have work to do at a certain time, which then, when I tell her that I have work to do at a certain time, one of two things will happen. Either she's going to immediately let me go before that time hits, or if it gets close to that time and I'm losing track of time, if she values me and my time, she will remind me, didn't you say you had X, Y, and Z work to do at X, Y, and Z time? It's almost time. If she's a valuable person, she's going to prioritize my ambitions, right? Is it talking about waiters? I have a story about yesterday. What happened yesterday? I'm going to go into red flag number 2. You're going to tell me about the story that happened with the waiters, and then we're going to touch base on that story. Oh, never mind, you got it. He said, I tried to pay at Bob Evans yesterday before I finished and got out early. I gave the waitress 40 and told her to take a 20% tip. It took her forever to get it, and it took way longer. So you went to Bob Evans yesterday. Um, Towards the end of your meal, you try to pay the person and give them the money and take the $20 tip out. You didn't do it before the meal started, though. You did it probably part way through. You probably did it, before you were done eating, but you didn't close your tab out before the food got to the table. And it took way longer for you to get out of there because they already had the money. You're waiting on a receipt. You're waiting on a receipt is why the situation didn't work. If I overpaid and there's enough money there where you can keep the change as a tip, if you went to Bob Evans and you know that you spent about 25, maybe $30 plus taxes and tip, it'd be $40, keep the change. All you had to do was get up and walk out. It doesn't matter. She's not bringing you back any change. So you're not waiting on a receipt. You paid. You gave her $40. The shit cost 25 plus taxes is 30. If you ordered more than $40 worth of stuff and you need to get a receipt, that's the situation that's going to make you wait because you didn't give enough money. So try it again the next time you go somewhere. When you're looking at it, typically men don't go to a bunch of different places. We kind of frequent the same spots. We might have more than one spot, but we kind of frequent the same spots. So you might go back to Bob Evans again next weekend or whatever. When you do, you kind of know what you want. You don't order different things every time you go. You have found one specific type of food that you know that you like, that you would prefer. You might switch up a side or two, but the basic entree you're gonna get. You look at the menu, you look at the price. You know that the primary entree might be $15. The appetizer might be another $5 or $10. You're at $25. You know you're going to get 2 drinks. Might be $3 a drink. You might get 3 drinks, and that might be a total of $10 or $11 for all 3 drinks. So that brings you up to about $35. And you know that if you put $40 on a table, $45 on a table, because the $35 plus taxes might put like $3.50 of taxes on the table, put you at like $33 to $37, which leaves like $2 or $3 on the table. You want to leave an extra $5 for the server. Notice how I did that calculation so quickly. You put $45 on the table, keep the change. I'm not ordering anything else. You did that at the beginning. She's not coming back with nothing except for to-go bag if you didn't finish your food. When you get up and walk away, if you wanted to validate the closure of this particular situation, when you hand her the $40 at the beginning, when you told her what you wanted, you immediately tell her, bring me my receipt. She should be bringing you your receipt with your food. If you sat there for 15 minutes eating your food, the receipt should have came before you finished eating the food, because you're not asking for anything else. What you ordered is what you're paying for, and whatever you tipped her, that's all she's getting. So by the time you finish eating, even if it took her 20 minutes to get this shit done, 5 minutes after you finish eating, you're ready to go. Instead of her spending 10 to 15 minutes getting you together because she's understaffed, she's got 8 other tables, she forgot about you. Now you're ready to leave. You still got to flag her down. She hasn't processed your payment. Now she's got to come back and process your payment. No. You make it clear. This is all you're getting. This is all I want. Bring me my receipt before you bring me my food. Just, or like we said yesterday, if you communicate with the host, hostess, or the manager at the beginning of the night that you're doing X, Y, and Z, you're going to put up whatever you're going to put up in cash, and you're not going to order more than that. They're going to keep the difference as a tip. You can give them your email and have them email you the receipt. You don't have to sit at the table and wait for the receipt. They can process your payment and email you a receipt. That's what we were talking about yesterday. And that's the same thing with them keeping your credit card on file, because if the manager kept your credit card on file and everything you ordered that day, they charged it to the card and then they sent you a receipt in the email, they have on file, this is what you paid for, this is what they billed you for, and then they send you an invoice in your email. That's a paperless transaction. You don't wait until halfway through. You get them to cash you out either before you order. You give them the money and tell them, this is all I'm buying, this is all I'm paying for, and don't order more than that. Or as soon as you order, this is all I want, cash me out now. By the time the cook, because it's going to take 10 to 15 minutes for the cook to fix your food, and it's going to take you 15 minutes to eat the food if you're not rushing. That's 30 minutes. From the time you ordered until the time the food hits your table, she should have cashed you out, because you got to do the payment process before the dinner. He said, that's where I went wrong. I have the money as I was eating and was expecting change. I took her to take a 20% tip. Nah, that's not what you do. So yeah, that's gonna fuck up the whole rotation, because now you're gonna wait on change. She thought you wanted her to keep the rest of the money. No, you give her what you want her to have, not more than that. So your mentality is you know you're going to Bob Evans. Smart man. You can look up Bob Evans's menu on the internet. You can look up Bob Evans's prices on the internet. You can calculate, depending on your city and state. I would do 10% taxation just to make it easy for you to do the math. But a lot of states have taxation on food at about 8.75%. So you take whatever you were planning on buying, hit the standard tax rate on it. You can get a semi-exact dollar value for it. You can do an estimation. Because if you say that, well, I'm going to buy about $35 worth of stuff, 10% taxation, which is overstating it, would give me $3.50 taxation on $35 worth of stuff, which is $38.50. That's $39. You say, well, I'm going to tip her 20%. $39, that's like $7.80. So $8 tip. $8 tip on $39. That's $46, $47. If all you got is a $50 bill, you're giving her more than 20%. Put a $50 bill on the table. I want this, 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 and this. Cash me out. Keep the change. That's it. You sit down, you eat, you get up, you walk out. If you're not waiting on a doggy bag, you're not waiting on nothing. If you know that you're about to go in there and you're about to spend like $15 on the food, $10 on the drinks, is $25, and your $5 is for the tip, that's $30, plus the taxes might be $25. You might have been sitting over there thinking, well, I want my $10 back. That's what you were waiting on. No, she was gonna keep that extra $10 if you wouldn't have lingered there for it. So if you knew that what you ordered at Bob Evans would have totaled with tip $30, what you should have done before you went to Bob Evans is break a 20. And that's not hard to do, because you can go to any gas station, you can go to any cash register and ask them to give you change for whatever, or you can just go buy you a stick of gum or a soda that you keep in the car and break that 20. And now you're gonna give them the $30, and you're gonna keep like the $8.50 or whatever after you finish buying your Sprite, your Gatorade, your Powerade, your Monster, whatever at the gas station. You broke that 20, give them the $30 exact, and just walk out of the building. Because if they're going to keep the change, if you overpaid and the waitress is going to keep the change, they're not coming back with the receipt. That's what took you so long. She thought she had an extra $10. And then you disappointed her. You were like, no, you didn't do good enough service to get that extra $10. But you tried. It's a learning experience. Once you master this, doing it for yourself, you will have this technique in play when you decide to go out on a date, which is going to make what we're talking about today like a master class. Because if you're going out on a date and you know that you're going to do $20 a person, or you're going out on a date, you're probably going to do $50 a person. You want to make sure that you're not under budget. You and the other person, it's about $100. You know that you're going to do 20% tips, $120. You're going to go to this restaurant. You know that reasonably it's not going to be left field, whatever. If you're getting a woman of reasonable value, she's gonna order something moderate on the menu. Something, depending on where you're going, Bob Evans, you might be between $10 and $20 a plate. So if you're saying $50 a person, you're guaranteeing that the most expensive entree plus 2 or 3 drinks per person plus tip can be covered $120, right, for the date. So if you're going to meet the person there, you get there early. You don't get there late. You get there early. You talk to the hostess, have the hostess get the manager, let the manager know that you're going to put down this $120 towards tonight's tab. You're not going to charge more than $120 on your side of the table. Tell the hostess to keep the $20 tip from your side of the table. Anything ordered over that is for the other person, because you're covering your side of the table. And if the entire table orders less than this $120, you keep that $120 and you keep the change. But that $20 is for the hostess, the $100 is for the meal. So if the other person orders an extra $50 worth of stuff, $100 of it was paid and $20 was the tip, and you better get the other $50 out of the other person. As long as you establish that with appropriate professional communication with management, they're going to take your $120 at the top of the thing, because a lot of times they're going to say, oh, no, well, we normally prefer that you pay after the fact, and you let them know. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave abruptly. So I want to pay in advance so that I don't have to linger. I'm on call. All you got to do is just say I'm on call. So I'm going to order my food. I want to pay for it in advance. I'm going on a date. I expect my partner to not order more than this. This is what I'm paying for. If she orders more than that, she will be here with y'all working that out. However, I will cover this much. And if I have to go before she's done eating, I am going to leave, and I want to pay for this in advance so that there's no problems between me and you. You establish that. Just simply, you don't got to tell them what you do for a living. I'm on call. which means I have to leave abruptly, which means that I would greatly appreciate it if I pay for what I expect to pay for before you get in there. Special shout out to Uncommon Woman. He said, just passing through. I really appreciate you passing through. Make sure that you like and subscribe as you pass through. Well, you already subscribed. Make sure that you like it and hit the reaction buttons as you pass through. But yeah, that's what you do, Stephen. You make sure that you let them know, hey, I'm on call. I got a date coming. We're gonna be here probably like a half hour or so. I'm gonna put up about $100 towards the meal, $20 tip for the server. If my partner orders anything over that, she's going to cover that. I'm covering this. And because I'm on call, I can't stay to close out the check. So I want to get the check covered before I go for what I'm going to be responsible for. Right. And then the manager is going to say, sure. Because what you're doing is you're guaranteeing them that you're paying for what you're going to walk out on. And then whatever's still there, that's going to be on her. Right. And actually, they can draft you a receipt. Matter of fact, you can tell them exactly what you plan on getting, and they can give you a receipt on that part and hold the other $150 towards the rest of it. But either way, whatever's not covered, you got yours before your date gets to the restaurant. Because you preemptively took care of things, when she shows up at the restaurant, oh, I hope I didn't keep you waiting very long. No, you're fine. Why? Because I was taking care of business before she got here. Now that she's here, we can enjoy the dinner. If everything works out, the total bill is under $100. We leave. They keep the change. We can leave from this spot and go to the next spot as soon as we decide that we're ready to go. When she said, oh, we don't have to, we don't have to get the check. We don't have to pay. I mean, unless you want to take something to go with you, we can go. If you're ready, we can go. And that will be an impressive position to be in. If everything's already been taken care of. So, I mean, unless you're waiting for a doggy bag, we can go. Right. And that allows for us to leave. Oh, she didn't even have to assume that we were going to debate on who gets paid because the check was covered before she sat down. Right. That puts her in a different mentality with you. That also works well with businesses. Typically, in a business meeting, you're supposed to be there an hour before them or an hour and a half before them anyway. So if you set it for 8 o'clock, you should be showing up at like 6:45, 7 o'clock, doing this exact same routine, making sure that everything's covered. And then towards the actual meetup time, you meet the person, y'all sit down. A lot of the times you're already seated. And that's going to be the beginning conversation. I hope I didn't keep you waiting long because you were already there. You were early. And that speaks volumes about you and your integrity because you were early. You weren't just on time, you were early. Once the business deal works itself out over dinner, you guys have your agreement, or let's say you have a disagreement. Have a good day. You get up and you walk out. They're thinking, because you didn't talk to them about this, they're thinking that you left them with the check. When they call the waiter or waitress for the check, they're going to lean over and say, it's already been taken care of. So even though this conversation didn't end well, they were already taken care of before they sat down. That's going to change the way they feel about how they treated you. Because even though they were an asshole at that dinner table, you still gave them the utmost respect and you respectfully walked out of the room. So keep practicing it, Stephen. When this happens, you're going to see yourself in a different mentality and a different perspective. Because one of the other things that this is going to do for you is that having this method where you take care of things before your date arrives, or if you take care of things before your appointment arrives at the dinner table, you're not held hostage by the check to be in an uncomfortable or unhealthy situation with somebody else where they are devaluing and berating you because you haven't closed out on a check yet. Now they get to embarrass you in front of the waiter and waitress. Now they get to embarrass you in front of all the other people in the restaurant. Before the other person gets to raise their voice, it's like, look, it's okay. I understand this isn't working out. I'm just going to go ahead and go. And then you get up and you walk out. That's it. Because you already paid for everything. You don't have to allow this conversation to continue down a negative path because you're waiting on the bill. You can just leave whenever you feel like it. You can leave before the food hits the table. Matter of fact, you can get up from the table, go to the waiter or waitress, tell them to put the food in a to-go box for you, and go wait out in the car. You just walked out on your date before the food happened, or walked out on your business meeting before the food happened. You already paid for everything that was ordered. They've already got the tip and everything. They're not going to hesitate to put the shit in a to-go box. And now, instead of food coming to the table, what happened to the food? He left with it. All situations, you're preemptively preparing yourself for the solution to a problem before the problem occurs, right? Now, red flag number 2. Let's pay attention to red flag number 2. The all my exes are crazy story. Listen very carefully, fellas. When a woman talks about her past, if she describes a history where every single one of her ex-boyfriends was a narcissist, toxic, or in some way, shape, or form crazy, you need to be on high alert. Sure, it's possible to have a bad ex or two, especially when you're in your 30s and 40s. But a pattern where she is a perpetual victim is a massive red flag. Everybody, male and female, in their 30s and 40s have effectively had at least one serious relationship out of every 5 years of their adulthood. Okay? And I can pull some statistics on that and be like more thorough about it. But at least one serious relationship out of every 5 years of their life until we go on retirement and we don't want to do this anymore. And I ain't been dating nobody for 10 years. That's because you're tired of the bullshit. But people who are actively looking have had at least one serious relationship out of every 5 years, where your last relationship ended within the last 3 to 5 years. And that relationship was 6 months to 3 years long. Out of 10 years, you had at least one, which means that at 30, at 40, where we started dating at 16, let's be honest, we started dating at 16, we started doing serious stuff at 17, 18 years old. If we didn't get children from that, in our 20s, we went to college, and then we just really started running wild, right? From 16 to 40 is about 14 years. Out of 14 years, 24 years. Let me do the math again. 16 to 40 would be about, 24 years. So I had to do the math again. 24 years. I had to think about that. Hold on. From 16 to 40 is about 24 years. I'm thinking 16 to 30. Either way, from 16 to 30 is 14 years, and from 16 to 40 is 24 years. And out of that, you would have had at least one serious long-term relationship out of every 5 years. So you're looking at 2, 3 in 14 years. You're looking at 5 in 24 years. You might actually have 10 serious relationships, or more than 10 serious relationships in 25 years, because they were shorter relationships. They were still serious relationships. They were emotionally exhausting relationships. You might have had a relationship that only lasted 3 months out of every 6 months, where you would have had 2 serious relationships a year, every year for the last 20 years. But the dynamic is, you've had more than 5 failed relationships since you were 16. That's the dynamic. And the dynamic is that the common value in each one of your failed relationships is you. Every human being with a pulse can admit that eventually. And when you recognize that, you cannot blame all of your exes for your failed relationships. Yes, they played a part in why the relationship didn't succeed, but you played a part in why your relationship didn't succeed. And a lot of the times, your failure in a relationship was repetitive behavior that you were not aware of. And until you improve that, your half of the relationship was always failing for the same reason, even if different exes broke up for different reasons, right? So you got to understand that when you're talking to a woman about her past, if every relationship was somebody else's fault, that's a massive red flag. This story serves a purpose. First, it's going to wipe her hands of any responsibility for things going wrong that she was responsible for. A person who can't own their part in past failures will eventually make you the villain of their next story. Second, it's a form of preemptive framing. She's subtly telling you, this is the story that I tell about men who displease me. So if you cross me, you'll be the next crazy ex. That's what this behavior is going to tell you. It's a warning and a control tactic rolled into one. It creates a dynamic where you might become afraid to disagree with her for fear of being cast in that role as the crazy ex-boyfriend, the crazy current boyfriend, the crazy husband. An emotionally mature woman can talk about her past with nuance. She can admit her own faults and what she learned about those relationships, not just, "Ooh, I chose the wrong guy." No, I failed to pay attention to his needs. I failed to provide the affection, or I failed to provide the intimacy, or I prioritized my own personal career goals over being available in my relationship. Like, she can recognize where she went wrong. I fussed too much. I argued too much. I complained instead of trying to communicate and resolve. Like, what did you do? Or what didn't you do? Because I didn't pay attention to certain things. I didn't focus on certain signs. What didn't you do? Because there's not always what you did do. A lot of the times it's what you didn't do. You know, I didn't value him enough. I didn't appreciate him enough. I did not provide him with the psychological and emotional validation that he kept asking for, which is severe because he was asking for it. He wasn't just expecting it. So I knew that he needed it and I wasn't giving it to him anyway. You got to ask yourself, what did you do wrong? Right? The drama seekers only assign blame to other people. The emotionally intelligent ones, they're going to take responsibility for it. So when you hear the "all my exes are crazy" monologue, don't fall into the trap of trying to be her savior. Don't think, "I'll be the one good guy." And that's exactly what she wants you to think. Instead, recognize it for what it is, a preview of how she's going to talk about you when things go south between y'all. Okay? Red flag number 3, rushed intensity and future faking, aka the love bombing. Women like to throw this terminology around all the time just to devalue the authentic and genuine feelings of a man. But truth be told, love bombing is, in fact, a thing, and it is not only done by men. And this is going to maybe be the most seductive and dangerous red flag for anybody to be in. It feels incredible at the moment, which allows us to be nose wide open and head over heels for the other person. But it's the bait on the very sharp hook. Love bombing is when someone showers you with over the top compliments and grand declarations way too early in the relationship. You guys have only been texting one another for the first 2 weeks and they hit you with the "I love you" and y'all haven't even met in person. Nah, that's bullshit. Yes, it is possible. Love at first sight. Yes, it is possible to have a strong guaranteed connection with the other person upon first contact. However, you are supposed to maintenance that feeling for a couple of months, 2 or 3 or 4 months, and you have to be positive through reinforced behavior that your feelings will not change about this person before you make the declaration. So here's a good question that I know somebody should have asked but hasn't asked yet. How long should it be before you tell somebody "I love you"? All right. Well, here, we're gonna I don't even have an exact date, but we're gonna set up a scenario. From the perspective of a woman, You know what he's going to do. You know how he's going to behave. You know what kind of decisions that he makes. You know how he spends his money. You know whether or not you're going to benefit from any of that. You like this situation for what it is, how you benefit from it, how you benefit from the way he treats you. The moment that you believe I could marry him, that's the moment you tell him that you love him. Now, how many years does it take for you to feel like that? Because you're not going to think in the first 3 months, I can marry him. No, in the first 3 months, this is good sex, right? But in the first 3 months, not I can marry him. So if it was like, the first 6 months, 9 months, a year, you think, man, this relationship has been so good, I could see myself marrying this person. That's when you go tell them that you love them. Now, from the perspective of the guy, she's doing all the stuff that a wife is expected to do from your perspective in a relationship. She hasn't failed to fulfill the wifely duties at any point since y'all met. The moment that you think to yourself, I could propose to her, that is the moment that you tell her you love her. So you might feel like you love her because men fall first, women fall second, women fall out before men fall out. So men are in love with the woman longer than the woman is in love with the man for the entirety of the relationship. But when you fall head over heels for the woman, you should postpone the I love you until you are psychologically and emotionally willing to commit the rest of your life to the woman. Now, logically, and this is going to go against what a lot of people believe, logically, you should also delay the sex until you can commit to the same way. Because a lot of times in the heat of passion, you'll say, I love you just because the sex is good. You didn't mean it because you didn't love the person, you just loved the action. And the words I love you just came out. Like you didn't know what else to say. You got tired of saying, oh God, and just flipped it to I love you. But the point of the matter is that if you prolong intimacy to the physical intimacy to the I could spend the rest of my life with this person and then incorporate the intimacy in there, that is when you have a guarantee that psychologically and emotionally I am invested in this for the long haul. Now we can get physical. This is the point where I can start talking about how I feel about you. Now, you're in a relationship with a person. They want to define how you guys feel about one another. They want you to tell them that you love them. Look, I have very strong feelings for you. I even have considered long-term, if not permanent, relationship with you. By articulating that you have future plans 10, 20 years down the line with her still in them, you don't necessarily have to tell her definitively that you love her. You have strong feelings for her. And while you're still working these feelings out, you have currently been making long-term future plans in your mind with her that you have not quite worked out yet, that you will talk to her about at a more appropriate time when you feel more comfortable with it. But you're reassuring her that one, you're serious, and two, you plan on in 2 or 3 decades her still being around. And the only third reassurance you can give her is that you don't have this type of feeling for anyone else at this time. So she's the only one. That's going to be the closest thing to an I love you that you're going to give a girl these days until you reach that point that you're willing to marry her. Now, I know a lot of women are going to get pissy about that, but women should be able to withhold sex and I love yous until the moment that she's willing to commit the rest of her life to that guy, which also means that her virtue is going to stay there longer because her body count is going to be lower because she's only going to spread those legs for the guy she's willing to give the rest of her life to, not the guy that's in the moment. So instead of having 500 plus bodies under your belt, probably only have 5 over the course of 30 years. Big difference. So The love bombing tactics that we have to pay attention to is going to sound something like after 2 dates, um, I've never felt this way about anyone. That's a lie. Yeah. She's going to say something like, I feel like I can tell you anything. That's not true. She won't. Another thing is after a few text conversations, I think you might be my soulmate. Bullshit, right? She's planning a vacation for you both after a week or already talking about meeting her parents. Too much. The only time you're meeting her parents is when she lives with her parents and she's inviting you over and they're gonna be there. If you gotta come pick her up from the house and her parents are gonna want to meet you when you come over, kind of thing, because she doesn't have a car, she lives with her parents. That's why you're meeting her parents. You're not meeting her parents because oh, I think we're gonna get married now. Now, keep in mind, in other countries, not the United States, in other countries, that might actually be the direction that you have to go. Is that you might get her last name and she might want you to meet her parents so that she can get social approval from her parents before y'all start dating so that they're going to aid y'all in dating to marry kind of situation. That'll happen. So this isn't a standard universal all the way around the world how it's going to work, but in Western culture, where people don't give a shit what their parents think, meeting her parents within the first couple of weeks of dating one another, that's bullshit. Unless she's living with them, that's bullshit. This isn't genuine affection. This is a strategy. The goal is to create intense emotional dependency fast. It overwhelms your rational mind and it's going to flood overflowing the validation that you have or that you receive from the other person. And it's going to make you feel like the most special person on earth. And once you're hooked on that particular type of feeling, the manipulator can start pulling the strings. The warmth is going to fade when they don't get what they want. The control is going to begin where whenever you don't do what she says do, she's going to emotionally withdraw from the relationship, leaving you confused and scrambling to get back that perfect person who never really existed. Now you're doing whatever she says. Now you're in that boyfriend boot camp where they're grabbing you by the collar and telling you not to talk to girls and all this other stuff. They're going to treat you like the king as love bombing so that when they start treating you like a peasant, you have to earn the right to get back to the throne when you should have never left the throne, right? But they're going to socially isolate you from other women so that you don't get treated better by another woman while she is shunning you so that she can maintain control. Now, not all women do this, but these are the type of women that you need to avoid. If she's only going to treat you the way you deserve to be treated when she's getting what she wants, that's emotional manipulation. Soon as she doesn't get what she wants, she switches out on you. She wasn't there for you, she was there for what you do. And as soon as you spot that, the relationship should be over. A real connection unfolds over time. It's going to be a slow burn built on shared experiences and proven trust, not a sudden explosion. A life buildable man is wary of anything that feels too good to be true too fast. So, and all of a sudden, we should get married kind of thing. No. When you feel this rush intensity, your filter should go on high alert. Instead of getting swept away with it, you need to slow things down. Don't mirror her intensity. Maintain your own pace. She might think that this is the perfect relationship, but you should be able to reassure her that while you do have long-term plans and intentions, that you want to take this slow because the rest of our life is the rest of our life. So we don't need to rush into any specific phase or steps through this relationship. If she pressures you for not reciprocating, that's your confirmation of the red flag. If she starts psychologically and emotionally manipulating you, oh, you're insecure, oh, something about your mama, oh, what about me that you don't want to go ahead and blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of women that be doing this, well, oh, I don't have a ring on my finger, so I'm not going to get you a sandwich. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that because I don't have a ring on my finger. Well, fuck. You're not doing what qualifies to have a ring on your finger. That's why you don't have a ring on your finger. So if you're not willing to do it now, you won't do it after I put put the ring on your finger. Therefore, you don't deserve the ring that is not on your finger. And a lot of women that we've had on the show coming through the comments section, that's he don't marry me after X number of time, I'm gonna leave because I need the security. Well, shit, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a wife over a certain number of years, you should leave because you're not gonna do it. If you're not earning your keep as the wife of the house, as the lady of the house, before the marriage, and y'all been dating for 5 or 10 years, and you haven't been earning your keep, you don't just get promoted because you've been here for 5 or 10 years. You get promoted because you did something to earn that promotion. So if you're here for 5 or 10 years and we ain't married yet, you got to ask yourself what you're not doing. Because that's why you're not married yet. It's not because he can't afford it. It's because he hasn't found the value in you as a person to spend the money that it takes to make you 50% owner of his estate. You're not being cold. You're being smart when you're avoiding these things. Red flag number 4 is going to be the constant need for attention and drama. Some people are addicted to emotional highs that comes from the drama. A peaceful life is going to feel boring to them. So a woman who lives on drama will find ways to create it out of thin air. Y'all start fighting over the sugar shaker not being in the cabinet. The fuck does that got to do with anything? And this is going to show up in a lot of ways. For example, gossip and negativity. She's constantly talking about other people's problems, loves gossip, and seems to have a negative view of everyone around her. That's all y'all got to talk about is other people. Like when you ask her how was her day, oh, Sally did X, Y, and Z with her husband. And I didn't ask you about Sally. I asked you about you. I'm a firm person, and I've developed this type of dialogue to redirect my communication with people. And I'm a firm person. When I ask you a question and you give me a response that doesn't answer my question, I'm going to correct you and say, I didn't ask you about your response. I asked you this question, and I'm expecting a specific answer from what I asked you. This prevents us from strawmanning down a path that has nothing to do with what I asked you. Because a lot of times in a discussion with a manipulator, they will give you a response that changes the subject. And now you're talking about something completely different. And you never resolve the core issue. And you are now focused on something completely different, shining the spotlight somewhere else. And if you agree at any point in time to whatever the hell you're talking about down the line, you went from I had a problem with what you're doing to what the Temptations was doing back in 1946, and you agree to something, conversation's over, they won. Because they have derailed your position from your concern to something that has absolutely nothing to do with your concern. So to prevent people from straying away from the topic that I'm talking about, if I ask a specific question to somebody and they give me a response that doesn't answer my question, then I just tell them, I didn't ask you about that. I asked you about this. Can you answer my question about this? You know what I said. I know what you said, but what you said is not answering my question about this. What you said is talking about something else. I want you to give me a direct answer about this. I don't do beating around the bush. I don't do read between the lines. I'm direct, concise. And as a result, if I'm communicating with a woman, she's going to recognize that when she communicates back, that she will have to be direct and concise. Because if she beats around the bush, I'm going to cut the bush down. She's either going to not like that and move on, which prevents me from having to be in a relationship full of riddles, or she's going to respect the directness of my communication and she will communicate with me directly, recognizing that however she says what she says, that I'm not going to take personal offense to it, that I'm going to receive the information and that I'm going to act and react accordingly. Now, another issue that you have with these individuals is that they like drama. So they're going to be picking fights. She's going to seem to start an argument over absolutely nothing, almost out of boredom. A simple disagreement can blow up into a debate about your entire relationship. Somebody says something on the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and now all of a sudden y'all are arguing about y'all relationship. How the hell did this TV show trigger that? Likewise, you might have a female that just come out of nowhere and show you a YouTube video or show you a TikTok video or that cooking with Kaya thing. And if you find any type of entertainment in that scenario, then she just starts flipping out on you because she expects you to be trained to not act or react in that fashion. Now, fuck all that bullshit. If you hit me with some cooking with Kaya, I'm sitting over here trying to look at these recipes because that little girl was doing it. I don't give a doggone whether she was shaking her nice behind on the camera or nothing like that. All I know is that what she did with that big ass burger, what she did with them big ass steaks, what she was doing with them gigantic ass, I don't even know what she found them big ass look like 5-pound potatoes. Like, I'm sitting over here looking like, look, I need to get some of these motherfucking recipes. You don't want me to be cooking with Kaya. Your ass need to be in the kitchen cooking. You should be cooking with Kaya so I don't have to. So you get mad at me because I gotta cook with Kaya because you won't cook for me, then you fucking up. So don't get mad at me. But this is the stuff that we deal with. This is that emotional toxicity. And when you see this trending on social media, you get a laugh about it when the girls flip out with these dudes over this type of stuff. And you think it's funny, and a lot of times because this is a highlight reels on social media that a lot of people believe that this is how life is supposed to be. The truth is that's not how it's supposed to be. Your female is supposed to be emotionally secure in your relationship where she's not intimidated about you looking at a cooking show of any kind. And if she doesn't want you looking at a cooking show, she needs to be the one cooking for you so that you don't have to look at the cooking show. Plain and simple. Because when Martha Stewart was in her 30s and 40s, I would have been like, yeah, go ahead, work that up in Martha. Look now, they sit over here tripping, but you Batman Catwoman now, Halle Berry, put Halle Berry in that leather Catwoman outfit. That's all it takes for some of us old folks, you know what I mean? So it ain't got to be cooking with Kaya. You could just be Batman forever with Catwoman and Poison Ivy. So these females got to be emotionally and psychologically secure in their relationship. And the only way that you can be secure in your relationship is if you know, as a woman, that you're doing everything that your man needs and everything that your man wants, or reasonably what he should be getting based off of the wants that he has declared to you versus what you're capable of performing. And men are pretty simple, which is one of the reasons why if a woman dated 20 guys, she kind of knows what most men want because a lot of the men ask for the same shit. And since men are pretty simple, no man should go undone by his woman because most women should know what most men expect because we all ask for the same shit. Basic needs and organizational skills and no drama, more peace, right? Now, another toxic situation that you're going to experience is going to be exaggerated stories. Her stories are going to always be over the top. A simple trip up to the story that you're going to tell is going to end up being an epic saga. This shows a need to make life more thrilling and to be the center of attention. Playing the victim, this is going to be another red flag. No matter what happens, it is always going to be worse for her on her side of the situation. She uses a poor me act to get attention and sympathy. These are things you want to avoid. This behavior is going to point to deep emotional immaturity. People often use drama to make themselves the center of the universe because they don't know a healthier way to connect or feel important. Another issue we're going to have that I didn't even put in here that I just thought about while we were talking about it. If you're talking to a woman and she's talking over you, she wants to control the narrative. A woman that wants a leader is not going to talk over the leader. Plain and simple. Now, how should a woman talk to a man? You should listen to what he's saying, and after he stops talking, you count to 15. Count to just sit there in silence and count to 15. And I guarantee you, if he's done talking, he will not say anything else after about 15 or 20 seconds. A lot of the times, there are men that talk faster than their thought process, and they will stop talking 5, 10 seconds, and then they'll start talking again. And if you jump in just because they took a breath, they will feel like you cut them off because they weren't done. They had to breathe, recalculate, and continue. Count to 15, count to 20. Don't say shit. Listen. Don't wait for your turn to jump in. This isn't double dutch. You want to observe everything the other person has to say, analyze it, articulate their core concerns. And then after about 15 or 20 seconds of silence, which gives you the opportunity, which we've talked about this on a show before, take 2 or 3 deep breaths before you respond. When you respond, it's not a rebuttal. It is a negotiation and solution to the concerns that was presented to you. So if you're talking, and while you're talking, she asks you a question. You go to answer. And 3 words into your answer, she's talking over you. As soon as one word that you say she doesn't like triggers her to respond to, while you're still responding, you haven't even paused for 2 seconds yet. You're just talking. You're trying to answer the question, and she's talking over you. That's a no-go. That's a red flag. On first contact, on first date, first 5, 7 dates, if you're having a conversation with her and she's talking over you, that's a wrap, bro. Because you understand that if she's doing this in a calm position, in a non-combative narrative, that is going to be 10 times worse when she's highly frustrated or upset or for any reason, whether you did something wrong or not. That behavior is going to be amplified. You won't get a word in edgewise. You will forever be listening to her fuss and cuss and argue with you. She's going to want you to respond so that she knows that you're still willing to put up with this bullshit, but she's verbally chastising you in this scenario because she's not satisfied with the outcome of the scenario, whether you did something wrong or not, and you're not able to rectify the situation or make future plans to prevent the situation from happening again, since you can't change the past because you're not allowed to communicate. And that's not a healthy relationship to be in. Your ability to recognize that something didn't go according to plan, let's change the way we do things so that we don't experience this again. Now, the only way that's going to happen is that one of you's got to shut the fuck up and listen. Women are going to say it should be the man. Well, I'm going to say the leader should be able to articulate how everyone else should follow. Now, if that leader turns out to be the woman, it is what it is. But if she wants a leader, then she's going to choose to have him lead, which means that she's going to choose to follow his lead, which means she's going to choose to shut the fuck up and let him dictate how this is going to work out. And if it doesn't work out, she's got the plan B. Because no woman has to be 100% submissive to a man. You should be able to articulate how plan B is going to work when plan A doesn't work. When you play fantasy football, you've got your first string quarterback and your second string quarterback and your third string quarterback. Why? Because your A game may not be the backup plan that wins the season for you. No plan ever goes according to plan. However, you always have a backup plan just in case things don't go right. So you let the man lead with the first decision, but you've got a backup that's going to back him up. So if this shit doesn't work the way he says he thinks it's going to work, you might just know it ain't going to work that way. But you're creating the safety net so that when he falls off the trapeze, you caught him. That's what a good woman is supposed to do. Not, I told you so, you ain't shit, blah, 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 blah. That's not a good woman. You understand? A man on a mission doesn't have time for this type of bickering and arguing and squabbling. A relationship should be a source of peace and support, not a constant source of manufactured crisis. When you see these patterns, understand this isn't a phase. It's not going to go away. As soon as this starts showing up in your relationships, it's time to run. This is going to be a core part of her personality. You can't fix it, and you shouldn't even try. It's not your job to try. Your job is to protect your peace and her safety, not her dignity in her ability to degrade and devalue herself. When you detect a drama addiction, the only winning move is to walk away from it. So you got a female that likes to exploit her own body. That might have been attractive for you for the one night stand. You're not turning that into a girlfriend. You're not turning that into a wife. You should not have to argue with your girl about how to dress. She had certain type of clothes that she was wearing when you met her, when she was single. Now that you're dating her, when you take her shopping, you pick the kind of clothes you would prefer to see her in. She respects you. She should only wear the shit that you bought. Everything that she had before she met you should be gone now, because the kind of woman she was before she met you is not the kind of woman she's trying to be to keep you. So the scantily clad outfit should disappear. You're not buying her what she wants to continue looking like a 304 to continue to attract other men. You're buying her what you want her to be in. You buy her the colognes that you want her to wear, that you want her to smell like. You get what you expect for her, and then she respectfully does. Now, a lot of women are gonna say, "Oh no, fuck that! I want my autonomy. I should be able to pick and choose whatever I want to pick and choose." Ladies, I'm a man of uniformity. You've got an upscale man. You've got a man of value. Guess what you're doing? The exact same shit. I'm always in suits. My woman's gonna go shopping. I'm too busy. She's gonna go and buy me a new suit. She should have my measurements. She should know where a good tailor is. She should be able to pick out some stuff that she knows will look good on me. When I come back and see new clothes in the closet, I'm gonna put it on because she picked it. It's not a one-sided dynamic. Back in the 40s and 50s, women used to dress their husbands. That's why married men were more attractive than single men, because back in the day, women took better care of their men. She used to dress him. She used to get his clothes together. She would get his shoes together. She would mend his clothes when they would get damaged. That's why there were sewing kits and sewing machines at the house, because the wives would patch the clothes and be the tailor that men are paying $200 at a time to go get tailored, because the women took care of their men. Those were the things that made women valuable back in the day. Women don't want to do that anymore. But just like one woman doesn't want a man to tell her how to dress, if you've got a man of value, you know his style, you know his taste, you can improve his attire. You're not going to turn a businessman into a thug. You're not going to take a Wall Street suit and put him into the next Lil Wayne movie, but you will upscale his outfit. He might have some of the cheapest suits that he can afford so that he can look the part without overextending his budget. You might have some extra spending money. You might want to get him some name brand suits at a discount store or something to that effect that would look good on him, accent his skin complexion, maybe his undertones. You might get seasonal clothes. He might have a bunch of dark colors and you might want to add some color to his wardrobe, but you're going to improve his wardrobe by your selection. And as you do that, your husband and your boyfriend is going to put on everything that you picked because you picked it, which ultimately is the other side of the fence that women don't understand, is that when a man tells you how to dress to represent him better, you're going to tell him how to dress to represent you better. That's the other side of the coin. Women forget that part because she don't give a shit how you wear because it's all about her. That's the red flag that you got to avoid. She wants to make sure that you look your best so that you represent her to the best of your ability. Likewise, she wants to be her best so that she represents you to the best of her ability. Y'all represent each other. Collectively, back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, your behavior represented your legacy and it represented your heritage. So you stood for your family's name. Like in Asia, if you fuck up, you made your ancestors disappointed. You make a mistake, you disappointed your kids, you disappointed your wife, you disappointed your neighborhood. It's not just about freedom of speech all the time. Societal frustration with your behavior makes it hard for your kids to get by because you fucked up. You failed at life, right? So if we bring that behavior pattern back in Western culture, I'm not going to carry myself in an undervalued pattern because I don't want my kids to be mistreated because of my behavior. which ultimately means I don't want the mother of my kids to be a retired OnlyFans girl because I don't want my kids to have to deal with that type of scrutiny and cut in school. Somebody pulls up a video back when mom was in her 20s doing stuff that she's not supposed to do, and then her daughter is going to be treated that exact same way by all the guys on the football team. Societal scrutiny. Women say, oh, well, it shouldn't matter, but it will. And because it will, you have to carry yourself better. Red flag number 3, early control disguised as care. And this is going to be one subtle but really toxic behavior pattern that you have to see and avoid whenever possible. A manipulative person will often try to exert control over you early on in a relationship, but they'll disguise it as something else. Here's some examples of it. Digital snooping. She's going to playfully ask to see who you're texting or what other women are you DMing. She might question who liked your photos or why you still follow an ex. Weaponized jealousy. She gets disproportionately jealous over minor things, like you mentioning a female coworker. This isn't a passion. It's insecurity and a desire to control who you talk to when you're not in the house. Jokes at your expense. She'll make little jokes that subtly undermine your confidence, your career, or your hobbies. If you get offended with what she's saying, she'll say to you, you're too sensitive. This is a classic tactic designed to make you crave her approval. These behaviors are all about establishing control. The manipulator wants to set the precedent that she has the right to monitor your life and define your reality. A high secure and valuable woman doesn't need to control you because she's confident in herself. She trusts you until you give her a reason not to, and you have to definitively do something that you're not supposed to do, or fail to do something that she was supposed to do in order for her to lose confidence in that particular behavior pattern. Not just because it's Wednesday, right? She isn't threatened by your life outside of her. She's attracted to it. So when you see these early attempts at control, you have to shut them down immediately and without apology. So if she asks to see your phone, the answer is a firm but calm no. Well, you can't see my phone. She makes a joke at your expense. Don't laugh along with her. Calmly ask, what do you mean by that? Forcing her to explain the joke, often exposing the manipulation. Your life is your own. And any partner worthy of you will respect that from day one, which is why you have to start off from the beginning with your non-negotiable expectations for behavior. So you've watched their behavior. You've run it through 5 filters. And now it's going to be your turn to be proactive. But you're not going to interrogate her. You're going to ask 3 calm, open-ended questions that gives her the space to reveal her true character. The key here is going to be your tone. You aren't a prosecutor, so you're a man who's calmly and confidently gathering information because you're choosing a partner just as much as she's choosing you. That frame, the frame of a man who is screening her, is incredibly powerful. First question you're going to ask, from your perspective, what does a great, healthy relationship look like day to day? This question is brilliant because it bypasses all the generic, I want a guy who's funny and honest answers. It forces her to talk about the process, not just the outcome. So I'm going to say it to you one more time. From your perspective, what does a great, healthy relationship look like day to day? You didn't ask her what kind of guy she wants. You asked her how is the relationship supposed to operate on a day-to-day basis, and what does she think a healthy relationship looks like? If she don't know, that's going to be an issue because she doesn't know what a healthy relationship looks like. A healthy answer is going to sound something like this. Well, I think it's about mutual respect, even when you disagree. It's being able to have your own life, but also being each other's biggest fan. It's a good communication and just enjoying the simple moments. This is going to show focus on partnership and respect. A red flag answer would be all about what she gets. Might sound like this. It's a man who surprises me all the time and plans amazing things, a guy who spoils me. He should always make me feel like a priority and give me tons of attention. Notice the lack of we or mutual. It's all about her. This reveals an entitled mindset. Another red flag is a vague answer like, I don't know, it should just be exciting and passionate. This suggests an addiction to the highs and the low tolerance of reality. It's crazy, right? Question number 2. How do you usually handle disagreements in a relationship? How do you usually handle disagreements in a relationship? This question directly probes her emotional maturity. Conflict is going to happen. There's no standing it. There's no way to get around it, right? The question isn't if, but how it's handled. A healthy answer is going to be self-awareness. I'm not perfect, but I try to take some space to cool off if I'm really upset and then talk about it when I'm calmer. I think it's important to actually listen to the other person's side, right? This shows that she has a strategy for communication. Red flag answer reveals love for manipulation. If a guy upsets me, I just go silent. He'll learn his lesson, or I need to win the argument. If he knows what's good for him, he'll just apologize. Or I tend to get really emotional and just blow up. That's just who I am. These answers openly admit to using punishment, needing to dominate, or having no self-control. It's a direct preview of the chaos that she's going to bring into your life. Question number 3. Besides a relationship, what are you most excited about building in your own life right now? That's a deep question. Besides a relationship, what are you most excited about building in your own life right now? This is the ultimate life buildable man screening question. You're testing to see if she has her own mission. Does she have a purpose or a passion that drives her, separating her from a man? A healthy answer will be full of genuine excitement. Oh, I'm really focused on my career right now. I'm trying to get a promotion, or I've gotten really into marathon training, and I'm hoping to run my first full one next year. That specific passion doesn't matter. What matters is that she has a passion. It shows that she's a whole person on her own, not someone looking for a man to become her entire life. A red flag answer is one of emptiness. Honestly, I don't really have anything going on. I'm just hoping to find a great guy and see where that takes me. Right? This answer is the answer of someone looking for a host, not a partner. She's looking for you to provide her with a life and a purpose. Now, this creates a deeply unhealthy codependency, and it puts a crazy amount of pressure on you to be her sole source of happiness. She becomes an energy drain, not an energy multiplier. These three questions specifically, asked calmly, will tell you more about her character than months of playing games ever could. Her answers are the final pieces of data that you need. The principles that we've talked about today: authenticity, boundaries, non negotiable expectations for behavior, and effective filtering aren't just theories. They are the practical tools that separate men who build incredible lives from those who stay stuck in a cycle of frustration. But knowing is only half the battle, like G.I. Joe. If you're ready to stop attracting these toxic situations for good and start building the kind of core confidence that naturally attracts high quality partners, I've given you guys some free training information that goes deeper into the mindset and daily habits of the life buildable man. And I'm throwing that information into the membership. So for those individuals, I should be throwing that into the membership this month if it's not already in there. So I give you guys a lot of tools and key sets, and these questions piece together so that you guys can benefit from what to look for, what to avoid, and what questions to ask to find out what kind of person you're getting yourself into. And for those women who watch the show and learn what the right words to say, you still have the ability to watch and observe and see if she replicates in action the responses that she gave. If throughout the first couple of weeks of the relationship, she gave you the line filler responses that you needed to carry the relationship past the first or second date, and 10 days in or 15 days in or 4 weeks in, you see that her behavior doesn't match her responses, you recognize the red flag within the first 30 days. And you're like, nope, this isn't going to work. One of the things that I tell men on a regular basis, and I encourage women to do the same thing: minimize the quantity of financial spending in the relationship in the first 6 months. Eliminate or minimize the uh, 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 sexual connection within the first 6 months. Most people are going to say I'm fucking insane. Your logic and rationale happens outside of the distractions of lust. Your logic and rationale happens outside of your distractions from greed. Some of the 7 deadly sins will corrupt your logical thinking and allow you to ignore the red flags when you succumb to those 7 deadly sins. Your pride, your arrogance, your vanity puts you in unhealthy positions. Greed and lust will put you in unhealthy positions. So if you forego that, you do not succumb to the lust. Yeah, you might want to sleep with the girl, but you're going to wait. Yeah, she likes the way you spend money on her, but you're not going to let him spend money on you like that. Because you want to make sure that the character and personality is going to be, the decision making skills as well, is going to be there consistently when the sex is no longer a priority, when the money is no longer available. Because those are key factors. For the woman, when the money runs out, is she still going to be there grounded with you? And for the men, when the sex is no longer available, are you still going to be there grounded with her? Then on the flip side of that, the sex should not be taken out of the relationship out of psychological and emotional manipulation. It should be naturally because the guy is not interested in the activity at the moment, not because the girl doesn't feel like it because the guy didn't buy her a Range Rover like she wanted. See the difference? So let's wrap this up. We started by blowing up the myth that you can trick your way into attraction. We established that the foundation of all success is becoming a life buildable man whose reputation, far integrity, and purpose speaks much more for yourself than anything else. Today, we built the advanced filters on top of the foundation. So now you know the authenticity. It isn't just a nice idea, it's a strategy that is utilized as a tool or a weapon against negative behavior. You know how to spot the sneaky red flags, the boundary tests, the victim stories, the love bombing, the drama addictions, and the hidden control tactics. And you have three powerful questions that will let you see right into a woman's character. And this is all about protecting your sovereignty, your time, your energy, your focus, and your peace are specifically your most precious assets. And they are the fuel for your mission. You can't afford to give them away to people who will waste them on meaningless drama. This is the core philosophy of being a life buildable man, because it means that you show up for yourself first. You protect your frame, your standards, and your mission above all else. And a great partner will be an asset to that mission. A game player will be a liability. Your job is to tell the difference, and you got to do it quickly. So here's my challenge for you for the next 7 days, for the rest of the month. Just be a conscious observer. Actively look for these patterns, not just in potential dates, but in the media that you consume, in people that you're around. Train your brain to see them. And if you're talking to someone new, I challenge you to ask just one of those three questions and really listen to the answer. These are data points, because you don't have to be talking to a chick just to get her number. You could be talking to a chick because you're waiting in line. You could be talking to a chick because you're on a long elevator ride. And just ask one of those three questions. Whichever one that you feel, don't give a shit about how she feels about it. Whichever one you feel comfortable about, you ask that question and see what she has to say about it. And it's an open-ended question where you ask that question and you just stay quiet. And I mean, like 5-10 minutes, stay quiet. She shouldn't give you a short 1-minute response. If she's sitting, and here's another thing, fellas. Silence is so key in these situations. Just because she stops talking doesn't mean you have to start up talking again. Put the ball in her court to continue the conversation. It is not for her to ask you a rebuttal question of, well, what's your passion, to see if she got the right answer. You're going to sit there and be quiet, and you're going to just stare at her. She's going to feel uncomfortable about the awkward silence. She's going to feel like she needs to add more information because she didn't give enough information, because it seems like you're still waiting for more information. She's going to psychologically be compelled to continue to talk. Eventually, she's going to give you more details than you needed. And you're going to use them as data points. I know that when you're watching certain things like Gibbs from NCIS, he just stands there and stares at people, and they spend so much time defending what they said that they rattle themselves. There's a plenty. I can't think of all of the people that like Raymond Reddington and other places where like the man just stands there and stares at the other guy and just lets them rattle on. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't cut them off. He doesn't second guess them. They just talk, and he just sits back and he just watches. Doesn't react. Doesn't respond. Just lets the other person fill the empty void of discussion. They will bare their soul to you. So as a result, it's not about you asking a question to get a quick response. It's about you asking a question to get into the bottom of the solution to their answer. And those wells run deep with women. So you want to ask, then you want to shut the fuck up. Now, ladies, notice that 3 hours ago I told y'all that y'all should be the ones to shut the fuck up a lot of the times, and now I'm telling the guys the same thing. When you ask one of these open-ended questions, shut the fuck up. Sit there and listen. Don't rebuttal. Don't. Oh, good answer. You are not validating her response at all. You're gonna listen to it. That's it. You're not gonna acknowledge it. Okay. You're not. You're not gonna do anything. She's gonna talk. You're gonna listen. Because what do you give a fuck about the answer? It is a data point to decide if you're going to keep talking to her after that. If you're not going to keep talking to her after that, it's there's no need to validate her response. She doesn't need to know you gave the right answer because there is no wrong answer. The fact is that her answer helps you understand what kind of person she is. Now, if you're doing this in a field study style scenario where you're just hanging out, you're at a grocery store, you're in a line, you got a chick standing next to you, and you just like, hey, outside of a relationship, what goals do you have in your life right now? Like you're waiting to check out. It's a long line. It's like 2, 3 people ahead of y'all. Y'all just standing there. They're having problems with the credit card, and you just like ask the girl in the line. Simple question. Technically, it's simple, but it's the most complex question to answer. She's gonna first why? Because she doesn't fucking know. She answers your question with a question. Any woman that answers your question with a question, red flag. But your question was, we were standing here, and I was just wondering. Okay. She can hit you with, I'm not interested. I didn't ask you if you were interested in me. I asked you what your interests were in your own life. Notice how when I told you that earlier, that I used that to redirect people from straw man topic. I wasn't asking you out on a date. I asked you what your life goals were while we were standing in this line. That's all I was wondering. I didn't care if you were interested in me. I only was concerned or curious about your life goals. She starts making it about you. Well, why? Why are you curious? I had a question. If you're not willing to answer it, I understand. This isn't for you to be defensive. This isn't for you to justify why you asked the question. You asked the question because, as you explained, you wanted to know. If she doesn't want to answer it, she doesn't have to. But observing her response to you randomly asking the question observes toxicity. If she's going to willingly answer the question because she has goals and ambitions that she's striving for in life, she's just going to tell you because you asked. If she has no goals and ambitions, if she doesn't have a response, and she's going to get defensive and deflect, she's going to make it about why you asked her the question instead of actually answering the question. You can think to yourself while she's being defensive and deflective that if I were in a relationship with her and I asked her a meaningful question that she didn't want to answer, she would use this deflective tactic against me, which would prevent me from getting a better understanding of what's going on with her, which would prevent me from being able to do my part in the relationship to rectify whatever the issue is, because she's unwilling to tell me what the problem is, because she's deflecting and making it about me when I was the one that brought the question. You get all of that information just by her answering your question with a question. And that's a complete stranger. So you can only imagine how she would talk to you if she had less respect for you because she knew who you were. Because let's be honest, guys, the longer a woman knows you, the less she respects you, or the more she respects you. And that's all going to depend on how you treat her, how you behave around her, and what the fuck she expected from you to begin with. If you're not performing the way she expected you to perform, that respect is going to be lower, which means her dialogue to you is going to be depreciated. If you're doing more than what she thought, her respect for you might be higher. But her dialogue is not going to improve a lot of the times. It just won't depreciate as quickly. So being able to do this field test will be able to help you, one, organize how you're going to introduce these questions. Two, practice listening to the responses and breaking down those responses to be able to determine red flags from green flags. And then put you in the right position where when you finally get into that conversation with a person of value, you're ready. Because again, this is not stuff that you just put into a bag and you just hold on to it and then you can just pull it out whenever you want to. These are skill sets that have to be honed from practice. So you got to practice it with people you have no interest in. You have to practice it with people you don't give two shits about. You have to practice it with people that are not going to impact the outcome of your day because you wasn't going to pursue them in the first place. But you're practicing it. Then when you do need to use it, you're good at it. Right? Remember the guy from the beginning of tonight's show, the one who got stuck into the game and he ended up draining and defeating himself in the relationship? The promise of this filter is that you never have to be that guy. By installing this system, you become the man who sees the game, calmly declines to play the game, and then walks away with his peace and his power intact. And a lot of times you're going to be walking away with way more resources than what you would have dumped into a breakup. So now I want to hear from you guys. In the comments, I want you guys to tell me one red flag that you will no longer ignore, and then one standard that you're going to start to enforce in your life. And you're going to do that starting today. And then we're going to hold each other accountable. So as you go and build your life, I want you to remember the things that I'm telling you and remember the things that you're looking for, because these are the things that are going to improve the way you end up in your future. Now, we covered a lot of stuff today. I'm going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you all this information to not only make you guys higher value men with your income, but I also want to make you guys higher value men with your decision-making skills. You have the ability to take the things that are inside of your control that you don't like and prioritize fixing those things, changing those things for improved results, which gives you the capabilities to navigate around the things that are outside of your control. Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too have the capabilities of using the information to make yourselves higher value women. Again, you have to prioritize your 20 or 30-year goals. You have to see where you want to be at in life, what kind of person you want to be there with you. Reverse engineer that to what do you got to do today to make those changes to get the things that you're looking for in your future, and then proactively start performing that. If you keep your eyes and ears open for the personality, the characteristics, the drive, determination, the dedication, the integrity of the suitor that is coming and approaching you, you can find the ambition of this person. Their dreams, their goals can sometimes mesh with or in line with what you've already got planned. When you're able to recognize the decision-making skills of the man that's talking to you is what you would prefer to have in your life, you now have a partner that you can partner with, that you can trust, that you can confide in, that you can work well with. And then you guys can make yourselves successful together, because two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. But it requires you both to have the same goals, drives, and ambitions to be more successful than what you are, even if it's in different ways. Right? One can be a carpenter, one can be a car salesman. Doesn't matter. What matters is that if you're both building a life to retire, where your standard of living is being covered, you're both going to focus on investing in the type of lifestyle where your standard of living is covered, where you don't have to work anymore. You guys can retire before you reach retirement age. So you got to think about that. Somebody that wants to live life to the fullest right now is not willing to prepare for their future, which means that the extra money that you save is going to get spent on them living life now. That's going to lead to financial frustration. That's going to lead to money arguments. that's going to lead to a breakup. You can foresee how your relationship would be with this person if you see what they're doing that's not in line with what you're trying to do going forward. A saver mentality does not partner well with a spender mentality. An investor mentality doesn't work well with a wasteful mentality. A saver can partner with an investor. So you got to pay attention to their mentality. That's some of the things that not a lot of people think about. So ladies, if you got a guy that's willing to drop $500 on you on a first date, not a smart move. It's financially irresponsible. You shouldn't even accept the date. I know a lot of women are like, fuck that. No, he could spend $500 on me in one night. No. Think about it. In the moment, that's good entertainment. But think about it. A man that's willing to spend $500 on a stranger on the first night is the kind of man that's willing to drinks on a house 5 years into your relationship. A man that's willing to open bar at the wedding at his expense. A man that's willing to take the down payment money for your brand new house and put it on paying for somebody else's activity or hosting a big birthday party for somebody else at your expense because you guys combine your incomes together. And when you guys combine your incomes together, whatever he doesn't put into the household, you put into the household. And whatever he takes out of the household, you got to replace it. So you don't want to be dating a guy that's willing to $300, $500 a night, first 3 nights to wow you and impress you. You want a guy that's going to really be fiscally responsible on the first 30 days. Because if he can't budget his money well when he first meets you, how the fuck can he budget your money when y'all get together? And a lot of women are going to say, well, I budget my own money. No, you don't. No, you don't. You collectively budget your money with the other person that you have shared financial responsibility with. So whatever financial plans you had, if the money came up short because the other person spent too much money somewhere else, you now have to cover the spread. So no, you don't budget your own money. Y'all collectively budget the money based on whatever's left over after the other person ran out of money, right? So you guys got to prioritize these things. This helps you have a long-standing and more healthy relationship. Now, if you end up in a situation where one person can handle the money and all the money is going in the right spot, you've got money for your entertainment and they've got the money to invest and everybody's copacetic, but you trust their financial decision-making skills, then you don't have as much to deal with. But when you're self-sufficient and they're self-sufficient, especially if you're Miss Independent, you've got to be able to put your money where you want it to be at for your future, and they've got to be able to put in wherever they're supposed to put in so that you don't come up short. That requires you to pay attention to his decision-making skills with how much money he's willing to waste on you before he finds out what your last name is. Because most women don't even give their real name. They give a nickname. If they don't give they might give you a first name, but they don't give you a last name. They give you a social media handle. They don't give you a real phone number. So before you even find out who the person really is, they're willing to throw all this extra money on us. That man's irresponsible. And ladies, you should be walking away from that guy. You should be like, no, that's okay. That's okay. Because if we can't do 2 cups of coffee at a Starbucks, 2 bottles of water at a McDonald's, and take a walk in the park and get to know each other before we start wasting a bunch of money on each other, this isn't going to work for me. Right? Ladies, don't test a man's wallet. Test his personality. Test his character. You know, test his decision-making skills. Don't test his wallet, because that's the one thing that you don't want to test. Because one or two things is going to happen. Either you're going to test his wallet, he's going to consider you a gold digger, and you're going to lose out on a good man, or you're going to test his wallet, he's going to meet your expectations financially and be a fucking wasteful dude. And that's not good for you either. You should have walked away from that. Don't test his wallet. Test everything but his wallet. Because one, that's going to show him that you're not there just for his money. And then 2, you see what kind of decision-making skills he's got. Because if he can't impress you with his money, what kind of character does he have? Because that's all that he's got left. His character and his personality. He's not winning you over because he's spending $1,000 on the event. He's winning you over because he's intelligent, he's funny, he's resourceful, he's paying attention to your needs. Those are things that can't come from spending $1,000 on watching a movie. Think about that, ladies. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys for tonight. We got a lot of stuff coming up. As y'all can see, a lot of the stuff going all the way through the middle of June has already been pre-posted. We're going to be going live every night of the week, but so you'll be able to go through and hit the notification button on all the shows that are up there right now. Monday and Tuesday is up this week. I'll be putting up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week up sometime next weekend, but I'll be putting up Wednesdays starting this week and trying to get everything situated. You guys that are in the membership, you will start seeing a lot of things flowing into the membership. So take your time to double back, go take a look at that and see what's falling into the membership, because every question that you have is answered in the membership. And I give you guys detailed step-by-step guides on how to get stuff done, which I'm going to probably have to start making a book about these things and publishing them somewhere where you guys can get the guides off some of these books and make some ebooks that you guys can download, and we'll figure these things out. But in the meantime, I'm putting a lot of stuff in the membership that you guys have direct access to, and I want you guys to be able to take a look at the things that help you make different decisions that potentially can give you a better outcome in your life, right? Because that's what this is about. This is about changing the way things are, changing the way things used to be. If what you were doing in 2024 and 2025 wasn't working, you should have cut that shit out by now. You're halfway through 2026. If last year didn't go the way you wanted it to go, you should be doing something different this year to get a different outcome from next year. And we're halfway through this year, so I know whatever your New Year's resolutions were, you ain't fucking doing them right now. So you need to start now making different changes where your goal is to pay attention to and prioritize your 20 and 30-year plan. And whatever it is, whatever your goals are, however you plan on seeing yourself in the next 20 or 30 years, you are doing what it takes to get you there, legally, appropriately, and respectfully, right? You should not have to compromise your integrity or your dignity in any way, shape, or form. You shouldn't have to compromise your morals and your ethics in any way, shape, or form to get to those goals, okay? So if your decisions leads to something unethical, you should probably cut that shit out. Just saying, OnlyFans girls. It ain't going to benefit your future. You shouldn't be doing it now. I know there's big money in it, but I mean, not everything that's worth doing is big money, and not everything that's big money is worth doing, right? So remember that. That's all I have for you guys for tonight. I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Andrew, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground! Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never